Chapter 289. Seeing Li Yao being blasted down from the sky by Lin Jun for the third time. The cultivators below were all dumbfounded. Even the cultivators who supported Lin Jun before didn't think that Lin Jun could defeat Li Yao in a head-on clash. This was because Lin Jun had always displayed extremely powerful techniques. After all, his realm was still low, so it was understandable that his strength was weak. However, this exchange of blows left everyone speechless. There was no room for even the slightest bit of trickery. Strength was strength, and weakness was weakness. Li Yao had lost to the point where he didn't even have the slightest bit of temper left. Lin Jun didn't stop just because this strike succeeded. Although Li Yao had been completely defeated, he didn't want to stop. With a flap of the thunder light wings, Lin Jun descended from the sky and landed on the ground. He first looked around and said, "Have you guys seen enough? If you've seen enough, you can leave." Hearing Lin Jun's cold words, the surrounding cultivators all trembled. They didn't dare to say anything to Lin Jun, and all of them ran away faster than rabbits. However, they were all excited. This news had to be released, but they could go outside and reorganize. This battle would definitely cause a worldwide sensation. Seeing that the surrounding cultivators had all run away, Lin Jun lowered his head and lifted the heavily injured Li Yao with one hand. The power of this thunder annihilation was enough to kill, but after colliding with Li Yao's sword river, most of its power had already disappeared. It was also blocked by Li Yao's top-grade astral armor, so it didn't kill Li Yao. It was reasonable to say that Li Yao still had the strength to stand up, but in Lin Jun's eyes, Li Yao's eyes were empty, and he was muttering things like impossible. It was as if his mind had been greatly stimulated. Lin Jun could understand Li Yao's current feelings. A Star Realm expert had been blasted into the same pit by a war god 3 times in a row. In the end, he had lost in a contest of strength. The blow to his heart couldn't be any worse. Li Yao didn't break down on the spot and become a lunatic. He could be considered strong. However, it was more or less the same. Even if Lin Jun raised his hand to kill Li Yao now, he probably wouldn't want to resist. However, Lin Jun didn't intend to kill Li Yao immediately. He first tore off Li Yao's astral defense, then stared at Li Yao and quietly released his mental power. "Look at me. Look into my eyes." It was as if Li Yao had been cursed. He couldn't help but look at Lin Jun. He felt as if Lin Jun's eyes were an endless starry sky. Nebulae changed, and time and space were annihilated. He felt as if he had fallen into a trance. "You will listen to me. What you did in the past was wrong. You will be completely loyal to me in the future. You will never betray me." Li Yao repeated every sentence Lin Jun said. Gradually, Lin Jun's mental power formed a shackle around his soul. Soul Lock had taken effect. In the past, it would have been impossible for Lin Jun to use Soul Lock on a Star Realm expert like Li Yao. Not to mention the fact that the other party had an astral defense. He was also a late-stage Dark Gold telekinesis master. Even the other party's willpower wasn't that easy to break. However, things are different now. Li Yao was completely disheartened. His willpower was on the verge of collapse. His astral defense was pulled down by Lin Jun, and he had no way of resisting. Naturally, Lin Jun could easily succeed. The soul lock was finally completed. Lin Jun stood up, looked at Li Yao, and said, "You should be able to heal yourself, right?" Star Realm experts all had the ability to heal themselves. Astral defense could heal injuries. Although it wasn't as useful as Lin Jun's light energy, it wasn't slow. Li Yao was no exception. He immediately nodded, stood up, and said to Lin Jun, "Young master, I'm fine. I should be fine after resting for 8 to 10 days." Lin Jun told Li Yao to call him young master. After all, calling him master was a little offensive. Lin Jun nodded slightly. "That's good. Since that's the case, you don't have to stay in the city of ancient gods. Go out now. Dissolve the Wanhao group, give your son and daughter-in-law a sum of money, and let them go far away. After that, stay in my house as a housekeeper. Your task is to protect my parents' safety. Please rest assured, young master. As long as I'm here, no one will be able to harm master and madam." As Li Yao spoke, his eyes flashed with a resolute light. Aside from the fact that a person with soul lock would completely die, there wasn't anything different about them. they could still cultivate and advance, and their intelligence wouldn't drop either. Liao even mocked himself. I was really blinded in the past. I actually wanted to harm young master. Now that I think about it, I really want to slap myself a few times. Young master, just watch my performance in the future. Then perform well. Don't worry, young master. Not only will I arrange everything for the family, I'll also teach master and madam martial skills so that they can break through as soon as possible, Liao promised. For a Star Realm expert like him, teaching Lin Lie and Li Qin couldn't be easier. Good. Do you know the situation on the second floor? Lin Jin asked. Young master, I've been to the second floor once. The weakest team, there's at least a Star Realm expert, and they can only sneak around and deal with some small exotic beasts. That's because the weakest exotic beast there is S rank. Quasi-SS rank beasts are everywhere, and the highest is even SS rank. Star Realm experts like me are the main force on the second floor. How's your strength on the second floor? Liao shook his head a little awkwardly. It's very difficult. There are too many experts there. My strength isn't considered strong in the Star Realm, and there are many people who are stronger than me. Also, there's one thing that young master must be careful of. Although the city of ancient gods has only been open for a short time, there are already 2 overlords on the second floor. One of them is called Luo Yun, and he's from Huaxia. The other is a European Union war god called Arthur. This person has a low-grade auxiliary type sacred tool, which is a bag. That bag can continuously devour a person's astral power or Dantian Qi. These 2 people each occupy a corner of the second floor. Basically, everyone on the second floor has to rely on them to survive. If young master wants to go alone, then you'll be in danger of being suppressed by them. Luo Yun, Arthur, are they experts on the star ranking? Yes. These 2 people are on the meteor ranking. Although they're ranked at the bottom, their strength is far from mine. The difference between experts on the meteor ranking and those who aren't on the meteor ranking is too great. Aren't they both in the Star Realm? Why is there such a big difference? Lin Jin asked. Young master, the Star Realm is different from the Star Realm. The Star Realm is just a general term. It's divided into 3 stages: the core stage, the meteor stage, and the comet stage. These are the so-called 3 levels of the Star Realm. Star Realm experts like me are only in the early core stage, which is at the bottom of the Star Realm. However, the experts on the meteor ranking are different. Take the meteor ranking, for example. If you want to be on the meteor ranking, you have to be at least in the late core stage. There are even meteor ranking experts. Almost everyone on the meteor ranking has a sacred tool. How can I compete with them? Lin Jin nodded. Of course, he knew about the 3 levels of the Star Realm. In his previous life, he had failed to break through to the meteor stage and had been reborn. As for the Dark Star ranking, it's even more powerful. It takes at least the meteor ranking to be on the meteor ranking. Those people are really powerful. That's what the Star Realm is. There's also the Heavenly Star ranking, Lin Jin added. There is a Heavenly Star ranking, but I've never seen an expert on the Heavenly Star ranking. There are only 18 of them. It's too difficult to meet them. What are the conditions to be on the star ranking? There aren't any conditions. The lower ranked can challenge the top 5. If they succeed, they'll be on the star ranking. Every Star Realm expert can see the changes on the star ranking. Of course, people like me can only see the changes on the meteor ranking. What if I succeed in my challenge? Can I be on the star ranking even if I'm not in the Star Realm? This question stumped Liao. He had never thought about whether a non-Star Realm expert could be on the star ranking. The key was that no one below the Star Realm had ever been able to be on the star ranking. Lin Jin smiled when he saw that Liao couldn't answer. Seeing that Liao's injuries weren't light, he let Liao leave. Before Liao left, he said to Lin Jin, Young master, you must be careful of Ice City Sophia Church's great divine Master Allen. He's also an expert on the popularity ranking and is very strong. The city wall you proposed not only demolished the Marriott Group, but also the Sophia Church. He definitely won't let this go. Thinking of Allen, Lin Jun felt a slight headache. There was no doubt that this person's strength was strong. He had some friction with him. Back when Li Tianhao was here, it was Allen who stopped Dongfang Jun. Later on, when Lin Jun killed Tang Yu, Allen probably guessed that he was the one who did it. Now that he had demolished the Sophia Church, it would be strange if Alan didn't hate him to the bone. However, it was impossible for Lin Jun to seek peace with him. He firmly believed that only when he was strong could he be fearless of all challenges. After Liao left, Wan ran back. This guy had been dealing with the two Tyrannosauruses for a while. Now, he finally got rid of them and returned to Lin Jun's side. Lin Jun also happily patted Wan's head. He felt that Wan's body seemed to have grown a little bigger. Previously, he was a little bigger than a pug, but now he was almost as big as a wolf dog. His red mane was more luxuriant, and the fur on his body was golden, as if it was made of gold. Wan also shook his head and wagged his tail as he cuddled with Lin Jun for a while. Then, he opened his mouth, and 3 spatial rings were hanging on his teeth. These were from Wuhai, Chidev, and Warsaw. Only then did Lin Jun remember about the spoils of war. He hurriedly took the 3 spatial rings, and Wan ran off to who knows where. There were so many earth dragons in the vicinity, so he probably wanted to look for food again. Lin Jun saw that there was no one around, so he got up and went to the hammer dragon's nest. He opened the 3 interspatial rings and poured out the contents of the interspatial rings. In addition to these, there was also Zhang Jun's ring, as well as the things he grabbed from the Tyrannosaurus nest. He took everything out at once. In an instant, light flickered in front of his eyes. A pile of astral tools, gems, coins, and sundries, and so on. Lin Jun was a little dazzled. Chapter 290. The pile of items in front of him really dazzled Lin Jun's eyes. He immediately started sifting through them. First were the dark energy stones. He knew that there was a pile of dark energy stones in the T-Rex's lair, but he didn't expect there to be so many. Obviously, there were more in someone's ring. After sorting it out, there were more than 30 pieces. Although crystals could replace dark energy stones, the quality and quantity of the dark energy they contained were not as good as dark energy stones. For example, Lin Jun was now a 9th grade war god, so he needed quasi-S grade crystals to cultivate. Once he reached the quasi-star realm, he would need S grade crystals. If he wanted to speed up his cultivation after the star realm, he would need higher grade crystals. However, dark energy stones didn't have this restriction. They could be used at any realm, and their effects were better than crystals. They were the most suitable for breaking through. Lin Jun was now at the peak of 9th grade. His leveling speed was too fast, so he needed to stabilize his realm and then slowly break through. He couldn't break through to the quasi-star realm immediately. Otherwise, his foundation would be unstable. These dark energy stones were all treasures. Lin Jun put them all away. Then there were the gold and silver coins. There were about 100 gold coins and 2,000 silver coins. Lin Jun also put them away. These things didn't seem to have any use now, but after the invasion of the extraterrestrial civilization, they would all be money. At that time, Earth's currency would basically be useless. Lin Jun had to prepare for a rainy day. Besides these things, there were astral tools. Whether it was the Tyrannosaurus or those 3 quasi-star realms, the quality of the astral tools in their hands was very high. In this pile, there were unexpectedly only 3 low-grade astral tools. Lin Jun directly threw them into his interspatial ring. The 12 mid-grade astral tools were also put away. The 35 high-grade astral tools were also put away. Lin Jun's vision was now high. Only the best grade astral tools were good enough for him. The rest could be sold for money. There were 8 best grade astral tools in total. 5 of them were weapons, and none of them were spears. Lin Jun also put them away. Out of the remaining 3 items, 2 of them were defensive items that Lin Jun could use. One was a pair of boots that could replace Lin Jun's current cloud treading. The cloud treading was still a middle-grade astral tool, so it indeed should be replaced. This pair of boots was a pair of short boots. After wearing it, it exceeded the ankle by a little. It contained wind energy that could increase one's flying speed. Lin Jun wore it and moved around a few times. He felt that it was very comfortable. Not bad. This thing is half defensive and half auxiliary. It also has a very strong attack power. In the future, when I kick people with my feet, this kick will be enough to kill them. He put on the boots and a pair of gloves made of some unknown leather. They were very thin, and even when he put them on, they felt transparent. However, when Lin Jun took out a 7-star blade that he didn't inject any energy into and slashed it, it didn't even leave a mark. This should be from the Tyrannosaurus's nest. I don't see anyone else wearing it. Lin Jun clenched his fists and revealed a satisfied smile. This pair of gloves was very much to his liking. With this pair of gloves, his bare-handed attacks would be very powerful. Many times, he wouldn't need to use weapons. The last astral tool was a top-grade astral tool necklace for mental defense. Its effect was similar to Lin Jun's mask. Lin Jun thought for a moment and put on the necklace. Now that Li Yao's danger had been resolved, he didn't need to hide anymore. He didn't need to wear this mask for now. After changing out the top-grade astral tools, Lin Jun finally looked at the dazzling golden half-body armor. The armor's name was Orange Light. It should be the work of a blacksmith in the Interstellar. Blacksmithing was a very popular profession in the Interstellar. However, all the astral tools were basically forged by those apprentices. To truly become a blacksmith, one must forge a sacred tool. This Orange Light half-body armor had a golden light lingering on it. It looked very flashy. However, after Lin Jun put it on, he slightly operated his Dantian's chi. The aura on it immediately became restrained. It was just like an ordinary top-grade astral tool light armor. He couldn't see anything special about it. In fact, even if you used a top-grade astral tool to smash it for a day and a night, you wouldn't be able to damage this armor in the slightest. This is great. The defensive power of this armor is simply too strong. Even in my previous life, I have never obtained a sacred artifact armor. The value of this armor is even higher than that of a sacred artifact weapon. If I were taken out to sell, people would fight over it. At this time, Lin Jun's combat power had undoubtedly increased by a lot. He had a sacred tool armor for defense, a top-grade astral tool long spear, top-grade astral tool gloves and boots, and a necklace for mental defense. It could be said that he truly had the qualifications to contend with an ordinary astral realm expert. Moreover, Lin Jun also had a trump card, which was the folded space. If he couldn't win, he could still hide. He wouldn't lose his life no matter what. In addition, there was some gold, jewels, and cash. Lin Jun put them all away. He wasn't afraid of having too much money. After tidying up a bit, Lin Jun stood up. However, he didn't immediately head to the second floor. Without a doubt, the second floor was incomparably dangerous. He wanted to first take a look outside. There was even a small town outside. Many rare treasures were being sold and traded here. Lin Jun wanted to take a look. Flapping the thunder light wings, Lin Jun sped up toward the entrance of the first floor. He didn't need to follow the group step by step. The distance of several dozen kilometers to the entrance was practically covered in a flash. After exiting the entrance, a wave of heat assaulted him. The temperature in this desert was very high. The sun seemed to always be high up in the sky. Lin Jun walked toward the town. It had been almost 10 days since he entered the city of ancient gods. There were even more martial artists outside. Battle gods and quasi-star realms were everywhere. Especially when he walked to the center of the town, these experts from all over became hawkers, constantly hawking their goods. Lin Jun didn't immediately buy anything. Instead, he took out his phone and went online. He wanted to see the specific situation of the second floor first. There was a signal in the outside world. Lin Jun quickly logged into the City of Ancient Gods forum. There were also many people who had entered the second floor. There were many videos and screenshots of the second floor. The second floor was called the Polar Region. It was divided into two poles, the North and the South. Unlike the South and North Poles on Earth, the South and North Poles here were both ice and fire. There were two entrances to the third floor from the second floor. One was the South Pole, and the other was the North Pole. However, there were very few people who could actually enter the third floor. The reason, aside from the mutated beasts on the way, was because of the extremely extreme climate. The North Pole was a land of lava. There was boiling lava everywhere. Moreover, the further north one went, the higher the temperature. There were also flaming meteors constantly falling from the sky. Those meteors were extremely abnormal. If someone tried to fly over, they would definitely be attacked by those meteors. Even if you teleported, the next meteor would definitely appear where you teleported. There was simply no way to avoid it. Therefore, if one wanted to go over from the North Pole, they had to pass through the lava river. There were mutated beasts that were born of flames everywhere. Each of them was incomparably ferocious. Even the weakest one was an S rank. There was a video on the internet. A team of quasi-star realm experts tried to go to the North Pole. However, before they could even go halfway, 3 of the 5 people in the team spontaneously combusted. The temperature of the air there had already reached the burning point. Therefore, if one wanted to go to the North Pole, they had to have some equipment and medicine that contained cold air. Otherwise, they would turn to ashes midway. It wasn't easy to go from the South Pole. There was a world of ice and snow everywhere. Large balls of ice and snow were carried by the mournful cold wind, covering the sky and the earth. Moreover, the higher one went, the lower the temperature. A telekinesis master tried to fly quickly, but as soon as he ascended, he turned into an ice sculpture and fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. There was even a star realm expert who tried to teleport forward. After teleporting once, the second time he teleported, he froze in the air and also turned into an ice sculpture. If one wanted to go to the South Pole, they had to have enough firepower. Otherwise, they would turn into ice dregs in minutes. Moreover, the mutated beasts in the South Pole were extremely terrifying. Each of them was born with cold air, which was a great threat to martial artists. Even walking on the ground was extremely unsafe. Therefore, if one wanted to go to the third layer through the North and South Poles, they had to have ice or fire elemental power. Moreover, they had to cultivate to a certain extent before they could do it. In addition, a lot of medicine and equipment were being sold in the market outside. Some were resistant to fire, while others were resistant to cold. Now, because there were many martial artists with elemental power, just like how Lin Jun infused his 7-star saber, they could also add their power to armor or weapons. This was called elemental equipment, and it was a new industry. For example, the current market value of a low-grade astral weapon armor was 100 million. However, once elemental power was infused, the price would immediately increase by several times, or even dozens of times. The specific price was determined by the strength of the elemental power infused. Lin Jun's 7-star saber had no attributes. However, many astral weapons had some attributes. If one wanted to infuse elemental power, they had to find some equipment with no attributes. Therefore, there were not many of such equipment, causing the price to soar. It was the same for medicine and the like. This kind of medicine could not be taken normally, as it could cause death. It would only be effective under certain circumstances. Standing in the center of the market, the surrounding hawkers were incessant. Come and see, the freshest low-grade astral weapon, ice elemental skirt armor. Skirt armors are rare, and ice elemental is even harder to find. It is a must-have item to go to the North Pole in the city of ancient gods. Price is 5 billion, no bargaining. Fire elemental crystal, the fire elemental crystal from an A-grade mutated beast. If you absorb it, you will not be afraid of minus 60 degrees Celsius. At least it will not lose its effect for an hour. If you want to go to the South Pole, you cannot do without it. There are only 2 in stock, 1 billion for one. High-grade astral weapon longsword. Only a bottle of fire elemental liquor. Interested parties, come quickly. Middle-grade astral weapon. Only a high-grade armor. Buying ice elemental and fire elemental crystals, 500 million each. With the emergence of a large number of elemental crystals, many martial artists could only absorb one type of elemental crystal. Even if they absorbed a second elemental crystal of a different elemental crystal, they would not be able to achieve resonance. This was because their body did not have a dark star, and they could not contain the elements. Basically, after absorbing the elemental crystal, it would dissipate in their dantian. Therefore, although there were more and more elemental crystals, the price was not too high. Chapter 291. Lin Jun began to wander around the town. There were quite a few people who knew Lin Jun. After all, Lin Jun was now a celebrity. Especially after the news of Lin Jun defeating Li Yao in the city of ancient gods, the people here were no longer limited to Lin Jun. Instead, there was a trace of respect. It wasn't respect for his personality, nor for the glory he had won for Huaxia. It was respect for his strength. Martial artists, especially those with higher levels, valued strength the most. After Lin Jun displayed the strength to defeat a Star Realm martial artist, the war gods didn't dare to look at Lin Jun with the same level of respect. Hey, Lin, come and take a look at this animal skin skirt from Brasilia. It's made from the skin of a forest boa. It's infused with cold elements and can withstand 100 degrees of heat. You're so strong, you'll definitely go to the second level. This soft armor suits you. It's sold for 6 billion, but you can take it for 5. 5 billion. Lin Jun glanced at the Brazilian. But I just heard you bid 5 billion. Why did you raise the price when it came to me? The Brazilian didn't expect Lin Jun's ears to be so sharp. He immediately felt a little embarrassed, but he still chuckled. Lin, you're a rich man. You can take out 600 billion to build your country's city wall. I'm sure you don't care about 350 million. No, I care, and I hate it when people take me for a fool. Lin Jun walked past this stall. Immediately, someone from the next stall called out to him. Lin, look at this good stuff from the African Union. This is an ice crystal obtained from the South Pole. If you wear it, you can withstand the heat for an hour. It's just right for you to go to the pole of the second level. It's only 1 billion. Lin Jun lowered his head and looked at the ice crystal. The so-called ice crystal was taken from an iceberg that had been frozen for 10,000 years. It was the core of the cold, and its temperature was very low. Although the ice crystal in front of him was also very cold, there were obvious signs of artificial carving. It should be an ordinary piece of ice that was infused with cold air. It was a fake. Lin Jun curled his lips. Is this ice crystal? It's absolutely true. There's no mistake at all. I spent a lot of effort to bring it back from the South Pole. The Black War God recommended to Lin Jun with an honest face. All right, I'll burn it in a moment. As long as it doesn't melt in the fire for an hour, I'll buy it. The black man suddenly felt a little guilty. Well, I'm afraid I have to leave in a while. I can't wait that long. If you really like it, you can have the 500 million. I'll consider it for 1 million. Otherwise, there's no need to talk about it. Lin Jun put down the block of ice and continued to walk forward. Although he was rich, he didn't spend it carelessly. With his eyesight, he could naturally tell what was good, what was fake, what was worth more, and what was overpriced. He came to a stall where a 7-piece armor set was placed. Helmet, armor, leg guards, arm guards, skirt armor, shield, and longsword. Looking at the shape, they were all sacred equipment. However, Lin Jun lowered his head and took a closer look. This set of sacred equipment was also fake. It was only the low-grade astral equipment that was tampered with. Moreover, there was a sign in front of the stall. Catch up with the trend. High imitation sacred equipment, set 7 pieces. Full set price 7 billion. Hee, this guy actually posted it directly. This is quite interesting. Lin Jun was about to leave with a smile when the stall owner behind the stall suddenly called out to him. Idle. Lin Jun was stunned. He raised his head and saw that the fatty squatting behind the stall was actually Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu, why are you here? Ever since Zhang Yu and the stellar fruit tree separated, Lin Jun had never seen him again. This kid seemed to have evaporated into thin air. When Zhang Yu saw Lin Jun, he was incomparably excited. He immediately pulled Lin Jun to the back of the stall and hung a closed for business sign. Then he said to Lin Jun, Idle, you really came. I just saw the video of you defeating Li Yao and thought that you might come out from there. I didn't expect to actually meet you. You're really amazing. Lin Jun also hadn't seen Zhang Yu for a long time, so he sat down and chatted with him. After we separated in the stellar fruit tree, where did you go? Why didn't I hear anything about you afterward? Sigh, don't mention it. After we separated, I found a secluded place to cultivate. However, I was chased by a senior and had no choice but to leave the stellar fruit tree. You can say that I'm a deserter from the divine general training camp. Zhang Yu sighed. But later on, I heard about your story. My idol is my idol. You were actually able to defeat the little tyrant and win the heart of Saint Isu. Everything you did was earth-shattering. You really made me admire you to death. Lin Jun looked at Zhang Yu's realm. This kid was only a first-grade war god. Moreover, his Dantian's chi wasn't compressed. Compared to him, It was like the difference between heaven and earth. Lin Zhen's cultivation speed was too fast. Many people in the past couldn't keep up with his speed. They had become people from two different worlds. Zhang Yu began to tell his story. After he left the stellar fruit tree, he wandered around the wilderness. He hadn't been a first-grade war god for long. He said that he liked to do business and resell some things. These years, he had made a lot of money. When he first started talking about money, Zhang Yu felt proud. But when he thought about Lin Zhen's donation of 30 billion and 600 billion to build the city wall, he immediately lowered his head. His little bit of money was nothing in Lin Zhen's eyes. However, Zhang Yu's ability to adjust himself was very good. He immediately said, "I don't want to compete with my idol. There are too few people in this world who can compete with you. If I compete with you, I'm just looking for trouble. I'm not that stupid." Lin Zhen also smiled. People like Zhang Yu had an optimistic attitude. Although he wasn't a genius, people like him could live longer. Looking at the set of armor on Zhang Yu's stall, Lin Zhen said, "You brat, you dare to sell this set of armor for 7 billion? Now, low-grade astral tools are worthless. I think it's not even worth 2 billion. Can you sell it?" Hee hee, idol, it's true that you are a genius. But when it comes to business, you might not be as good as I, Zhang Yu. Or maybe you are busy cultivating every day, so you don't know as much about the market as I do. Do you know how popular this kind of armor is right now? Popular? Isn't it just a low-grade astral tool? What's so popular about it? Lin Zhen looked at the set of armor strangely. It was flowing with brilliance. It looked dazzling, as if there was some light element energy inside, but it didn't have any substantial increase in power. Hee hee, idol, take a closer look. This is an imitation of the holy light armor of the Holy Sun. Holy Sun? Holy light armor? What's that? Lin Zhen was stunned. Wow, idol, you are really out of date. You don't even know the hottest Holy Sun. Saying that, Zhang Yu took out his phone and said, "You are really a cultivation maniac. The Holy Sun's matter has been around for almost a week. It has already swept the whole world. Now, the whole world is talking about this matter. Really, if there's anyone in the world who can compare with you, idol, I think this Holy Sun is definitely one of them." Zhang Yu found a web page with a picture and handed it to Lin Zhen. "Here, take a look. This super handsome guy is the Holy Sun and Grand Master of the Constantinople Church in the EU. He is currently the supreme leader of the Starry Sky sect, a master in the meteor stage, and a mixed blood between the East and the West. His name is Lucifer in the EU and Yin Huang in Huaxia." Lin Zhen took the phone and saw a handsome mixed-race man on the screen. He was very handsome. This person was of mixed Eastern and Western descent. He didn't seem to be more than 30 years old. He was quite handsome with a cold face. He had a head of soft golden hair and a pair of deep black eyes. He looked a little like a marble statue in the Church of God. Zhang Yu also showed Lin Zhen the picture. And this is a picture of him wearing the Holy Light Armor. The Holy Light Armor is a real set of holy weapons, which is the inheritance of the Starry Sky sect. Only by wearing this set can one be recognized as the Holy Sun. It seems that there have only been 3 Holy Suns since the establishment of the church, including him. In the picture, Yin Huang was wearing a set of holy weapons, surrounded by light, like a high god overlooking the world. There was even a picture of him killing an SS-level mutant beast alone, wearing the same set of armor. Lin Zhen also had the power of light. From the light on this person, he could see that this person had definitely resonated with the light atoms and had cultivated the power of light to the extreme. Closing his eyes slightly, Lin Zhen recalled something. The Holy Sun of the Starry Sky sect had an inheritance, unlike the saintesses, who could be found in every country. There was only one Holy Sun, and he had always been from the EU, the origin of the church. The Holy Mike Cathedral in the Constantinople base city of the EU was the origin of the Starry Sky sect. Not long after the day of the divine change, the Starry Sky sect was born. The first pope was not called the Grand Master, but the Holy Sun. It was said that he was an extraordinary person who could communicate with the true God. The first Holy Sun was called Karen. He was the founder of the Starry Sky sect. At that time, the Starry Sky sect was still ruled by the EU. However, later on, Karen no longer served as the Holy Son and the Grand Master, passing the power to the next leader. The most important requirement for the inheritance of the Holy Son was to be recognized by the holy light suit left by Karen. The holy light suit was a set of holy weapons, including armor, skirt armor, helmet, leg guards, arm guards, long sword, and shield. The holy light suit was Karen's former weapon. After she left the suit in the Constantinople Cathedral, waiting for the next Holy Son to inherit it. However, the next leader did not receive the inheritance of the Holy Son. He was simply called the Grand Master without the identity of the Holy Son. Moreover, the Starry Sky sect gradually fell apart due to the lack of communication. In the following hundreds of years, there was a Holy Son named Baho who had brought glory to the Starry Sky sect in the EU. However, there was no one after Baho. In order to become the Holy Son, in addition to inheriting the Holy Light suit, one must at least have the power of the Star Realm. One must also be very talented, be it in appearance, wisdom, means, etc. According to Lin Zhan's memories from his previous life, the EU did have a third Holy Son a few years before the Second Cataclysm. He was a very outstanding man, and seemed to be of mixed Eastern and Western descent. This event was so jubilant that the whole world celebrated the appearance of the Holy Son as if it was a festival. All the believers of the Starry Sky sect went to the streets to cheer and celebrate. Nearly half of the world's people believed in the Starry Sky sect, regardless of whether they were warriors or ordinary people. However, the Holy Son was a Star Realm Master, which was too far away from Lin Zhan in his previous life. Lin Zhan was not a believer of the Starry Sky sect, so he did not pay much attention to this matter. Moreover, after the Cataclysm, all the countries in the world were busy resisting the invasion of extraterrestrial civilizations, so they did not pay much attention to the situation abroad. Lin Zhan also did not hear about the Holy Son's death in battle, nor did he know where the Holy Son was. Therefore, Lin Zhan's impression of him was a little vague. Just as Lin Zhan was about to ask more questions, a black ghost flew over from the sky, with the symbol of the Starry Sky sect on it. It's Yan Huang. Yan Huang, Lucifer's aircraft. The Holy Son is here. Chapter 292. Lin Zhan and Zhang Yu also looked at the sky. The black wraith landed slowly, and many people surrounded it. The Star Sky sect had great influence in the world, but it had always been divided. Countless followers were looking forward to the appearance of the Holy Son. Now that the Holy Son had finally appeared, many followers of the Star Sky sect were ecstatic. There were many war god-level warriors who were followers of the Star Sky sect. However, they couldn't go to the church every day to pray and worship like ordinary people. Even among quasi-Star Realm and Star Realm experts, there were also believers in the god religion. However, they weren't as obsessed as ordinary warriors. At this stage, most people believed in their own strength. However, when they saw the Holy Son descend into the city of ancient gods, many believers immediately gathered around him. Lin Zhan and Zhang Yu stood behind the crowd and watched from afar. The hatch of the black wraith opened, and an Asian man came out. The man was about 50 years old and was wearing a long robe of the Star Sky sect. Lin Zhan and Zhang Yu were stunned when they saw him. Grand Master Alan. Zhang Yu was also from Bingqing Bay City and knew Alan. He didn't expect Alan to appear here. Alan glanced at the crowd. He had the strength of an early Meteor Realm warrior. Many people didn't dare to look at him directly. The noisy scene suddenly quieted down. Lin Zhan could feel that Alan's gaze lingered on him for a moment, and there seemed to be a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Lin Zhan didn't have a good impression of Alan. When he was in Jiaodong, he stopped Dongfang Jun from saving people. Later, when Lin Zhan killed Tang Yu, Alan probably realized that he was the one who did it. Now, because of the demolition of the church, Alan hated him completely. Lin Zhan didn't care. As long as Alan didn't attack him openly, Lin Zhan wasn't afraid of him. Even if he couldn't beat him, Lin Zhan could hide in another dimension with a space fold. Alan said to the people below, "Lord Saint is just passing by and casually strolling around. Do what you need to do. If anyone disturbs Lord Saint, then the divine sect will not only have a sea of divine grace, but also a prison of divine might." I believe none of you are willing to experience that feeling. The surrounding people didn't dare to make sound. Some people dispersed, while some devout believers knelt in the distance. Their faces were filled with excitement, but they didn't dare to come over and disturb him. Alan didn't care about these people. He said something to the inside, and then a man walked out. This person was about the same height as Lin Jun, nearly 9 meters tall. His handsome face was chiseled and angular, with long blonde hair and eyes as black as the night sky. He walked slowly with a powerful aura. There was a blood-red pearl hanging between his eyebrows, which was a top-grade spiritual defense astral tool. He wore the golden robe of the Starry Sky God cult. The golden robe represented the highest status in the Starry Sky Church. It was embroidered with stars. Although Alan was also a master of the meteor stage and a great divinity master, he was immediately inferior to this man. Lord, this is the city of ancient gods. I've already asked those people to be quiet. You can look around. Yin Huang nodded slightly, walked down the black wraith, and walked into the market. The surrounding people almost didn't dare to breathe. Looking at this godlike man, they felt that he was as dazzling as the sun. They couldn't help but feel ashamed of their inferiority. Yin Huang stopped in front of a stall. The stall owner was a Russian woman in her 20s. She was a second-level war god. She wasn't strong, but her face was pretty. When she saw Yin Huang in front of her, she didn't know what to do. Yin Huang squatted down slightly and said to the woman, "Little girl, how much are you selling these meteorites?" The Russian woman stammered, "My lord, the small meteorite costs 20 million each. The medium meteorite costs 50 million each. The largest meteorite costs 110 million each." The woman was selling dark energy stones. The prices were fair, and the business was good. Yin Huang smiled. "Well, if I buy them all, can you give me a cheaper price? Then I'll give you a 10% discount." The Russian woman was a little dazzled by the smile. Hearts almost popped out her eyes. "Thank you. I'll pay by card." As Yin Huang spoke, he took out a golden bank card. Everyone in the stall had a card reader. After all, no one could carry so much cash with them. The Russian woman hurriedly swiped the card. Yin Huang raised his hand and collected all the dark energy stones in the stall. There were less than 20 of them. "Okay, thank you, Lord." The Russian woman returned the card to Yin Huang. Yin Huang slowly raised his hand. A faint white light flowed on it. He smiled and looked at the Russian woman. The girl was a little flustered and didn't know what to do. Alan, who was beside her, said to her, "You're lucky. The Holy Sun is going to personally bless you. From now on, you're a member of the Church of God. Moreover, if you have any old hidden injuries, this blessing will cure you." Is it true? Oh my God. The Russian woman's eyes were filled with tears. She looked at Yin Huang nervously. "Come, little girl. I can communicate with the gods of space. I feel that you are destined to be a member of the divine sect. I will let you bathe in the blessings of God." Seeing Yin Huang's white light, he looked like an angel. The Russian woman was so touched that she cried. She immediately knelt before Yin Huang. Yin Huang's palm gently touched the top of her head, and a white light fell, immediately enveloping her whole body in white light. The girl immediately moaned when she felt comfortable. She closed her eyes, and her body trembled slightly. Around 10 seconds later, Yin Huang pulled his hand back and said, "How do you feel after receiving God's blessing?" The woman opened her eyes and moved her arms and legs. Then, she said in disbelief, "My internal injuries. The internal injuries I suffered in the wilderness are all healed. A miracle. This is simply a miracle." Alan shouted from the side. Some of the devout believers were so excited that they fell to their knees and shouted the Holy Sun's name. They were happy that they had been able to witness such an exciting scene. The Russian woman wanted to kiss Yin Huang's boots. "Mr. Holy Sun, I shouldn't have taken your money. I will transfer the money back to you immediately. Just treat it as my offering to God." The Russian woman excitedly took out her bank card and was about to transfer the money to Yin Huang. But Yin Huang didn't take it. "Keep it, child. You deserve it." The Russian woman was so touched that she wiped away her tears. Lin Jun looked at the scene from afar. He said to Zhang Yu, "Fatty, if the Holy Sun buys something from you, will you be like that Russian woman and not take the money and kiss his feet?" Zhang Yu shook his head like a rattle drum. "I'm not that love-struck woman. A businessman needs to make money. I will never do a business that loses money. The Holy Sun also has to pay as usual. Perhaps on account of him being the Holy Sun, I can give him a 5% discount. 5% at most." As Zhang Yu spoke, he saw that Alan was really coming in this direction with the Son of God. He immediately became excited. "Idol, can you pretend to be a buyer and be my prop? Let the Son of God buy my stuff at a high price. After that, we'll split it in half. Then, I'll invite you to the capital Bay City to have fun." Lin Jun smiled and said, "That sounds feasible. But do you think the Holy Sun will come to your place later and see that your stall is filled with fakes made from his armor? Won't he be beaten up by the crowd?" How could I forget about that? Li Gui has met Li Kui, and I'm going to be exposed. Idol, come and help me clean up." Zhang Yu immediately panicked and hurriedly tried to clean up his stall. But Yin Huang and Alan walked very fast. They arrived in front of Zhang Yu's stall in the blink of an eye and stopped. Yin Huang pointed at the armor on Zhang Yu's stall and said to Alan, "Great divine Master Alan, how many stalls have we seen that imitate my armor to make money?" Alan said, "It seems to be the third one." Yin Huang shook his head and said, "These people are really selfish. Although I can't punish them personally, I should let the world see their ugly faces so that others don't get cheated. Don't worry, Holy Sun, I'm already filming." Inside the sleeves of Priest Alan's robe, there was actually a mobile phone. Unknowingly, he had already recorded the scene of Lin Jun and Zhang Yu packing their things. Putting away his phone, Alan said to Lin Jun, "I think you look a little familiar." Zhang Yu said anxiously, "Great divine Master Alan, don't you know him? He's Lin Jun from Bingqing Bay City. We're from the same hometown. Moreover, he's the champion of the War God Arena. This stall is mine, not his. Don't take pictures and smear his reputation." Alan smiled and said, "Don't try to get close to me. Now that the Starry Sky Church is about to be unified, there are no national boundaries in the world. All the people are believers of the church. It's useless to get close to me. I won't let you go because of this." Then he looked at Lin Jun and said, "So it's Lin Jun. I was wondering why he looked familiar. What do you think? Is it easy to make money selling fake goods?" Lin Jun also looked at Alan. At this time, he already understood. What passing by? Alan and Yin Huang were clearly here to cause trouble for him. Through the internet, they could see that he was in the city of ancient gods. It was not a secret that he came out. This place was very close to the European Union. With the speed of the Black Ghost, it could arrive in 10 minutes. But why did they come to make trouble for him? If it was Alan alone, Lin Jun could understand. He had no enmity with the Son of God, so why did he come? However, Lin Jun did not care about Alan's little tricks. This kind of thing could not really affect him. Who would believe that a person who was willing to spend 600 billion to build a city wall for the country would set up a stall to sell fake goods? Even if there was video evidence, some people would believe it. Lin Jun did not care. There were many people who wanted to defame him, Lin Jun, but no one could stop him from climbing to the top. In response to Alan's question, Lin Jun sneered, "It's all right. Although it's a fake, it's still better than some swindlers who use the name of the so-called religion to gain fame and deceive people." Chapter 293. Upon hearing Lin Jun's words, Alan's expression changed. "Lin Jun, do you know who is standing in front of you?" Lin Jun glanced at Yin Huang, the third holy son of the God sect. "Now the whole world knows. Since you know, how dare you speak like that? The Holy Son can communicate with the true God. What you're doing is disrespectful to the true God." "Haha, I'm very sorry. I don't believe in the starry sky, true God. The food I eat, the clothes I wear, the house I live in, and everything I learn, I don't rely on the true God at all. Why should I respect him?" Alan sneered. "Where did you learn the skills from? What kind of place is the city of ancient gods? Without the day of God's transformation, how did you learn all this?" "Day of God's transformation? Actually, I have a different opinion on this matter." Lin Jun stood up from behind the stall. Although he was talking to Alan, his gaze was fixed on Yin Huang. He finally remembered something. Yin Huang did unify the God sect, but when the extraterrestrial civilization arrived, Su Mingwei discovered the nature of the God sect and was the first among the God sect's followers to stand up against them. Before Su Mingwei, none of the God sect's followers resisted. Instead, they warmly welcomed the arrival of the true God's troops. Although Lin Jun didn't know the inside story of the God sect, the unanimous reaction of the whole world undoubtedly had something to do with the person in front of him. Lin Jun didn't believe in the so-called communication with the true God. It was just an excuse to deceive ignorant followers. The so-called true God was just a group of invaders. The Holy Son must be lying about this. At this time in his previous life, if he had stood up and resisted immediately, Su Mingwei wouldn't have been in a one-on-one situation. Every time Lin Jun thought of you, or dying in front of him and her white dress falling into the dust, his heart would ache. It was just like the poem that people praised her in. If there was no Su Mingwei in the world, who in the world would be worthy of wearing white? Mingyue was no longer here. She no longer had the peerless grace of a woman in white. Therefore, Yin Huang was also the person who indirectly caused Su Mingyue's death. Therefore, Lin Jun absolutely did not like this person, even though he had no enmity with Lin Jun. Lin Jun looked into Yin Huang's eyes. What you saw was a cultivation technique brought about by Divine Transformation Day, something that didn't exist on Earth. But you forgot about the disaster and the billions of innocent people who died. Was that meteor shower a gift from God? I don't think so. From a scientific point of view, it's a planet that broke apart and crashed onto Earth. Everything that fell from there is more like the remains of that planet. What is Earth? Earth is just a garbage dump. We're just rummaging through the garbage dump to find something useful so that we can live a better life. It's ridiculous that you think it's a gift from God. Then where is God? Other than the meteor shower that brought death and disaster, what else did they give you? Lin Jun, how dare you? You are challenging the church. Alan was so angry that his eyebrows and beard were trembling. He had never seen such a bold person. In this era where religion was prevalent, the Church of the Star Sky was the only religion. Nearly half of the world's people were believers of the Church of the Star Sky. No one had ever dared to say such nonsense in public and completely deny everything about the Church of the Star Sky. Moreover, this was in front of the new son of the Star Sky Church. This made Alan feel that it was ridiculous. Was Lin Jun crazy? Even Zhang Yu looked at Lin Jun in disbelief. What's wrong with my idol? How could he say such things casually? Although Zhang Yu did not believe in the Church of the Star Sky Church, there were too many believers in the world. If Lin Jun's words were spread, it would cause public anger. Lin Jun was not crazy. He knew exactly what he was doing. He clearly remembered that when the extraterrestrial civilization had descended, Earth had suffered the heaviest casualties. It was during the first attack of the extraterrestrial civilization. At that time, almost no one was on guard. The Church of the Star Sky Church welcomed the arrival of God's troops, and the non-believers were just watching the show. The invaders came in a seemingly friendly manner, then suddenly began to massacre all non-believers. Too many people died in the first attack, and many experts were even killed on the spot. The Church of the Star Sky Church also tried to defend the invaders, saying that they were eliminating heretics. As long as people joined the Church of the Star Sky Church, they would be safe. Su Mingyue's incident also happened at that time. The kind girl could not stand the brutality of the invaders and rose up to resist. With her thin body and her blood, she awakened many believers who were still blindly misled by the Church of the Star Sky Church. After the Gong Sundu incident, more and more believers began to resist. In the end, the invaders simply tore off their hypocritical mask and began a full-scale massacre. Then came a long period of human resistance. Of course, in the end, they failed. Countless experts and geniuses fell, and humanity was completely conquered. They became the slaves of the invaders and finally left their home on Earth. By the time Lin Jun was reborn, the people of Earth were almost completely extinct. It was wishful thinking to meet another person from Earth. If one wanted to know more about Earth, they could only learn a few words from some elementary school textbooks in the Star Sky Church. They were nothing more than a group of slaves who had been conquered by a higher civilization. They had long been submerged in the eternal river of time. Lin Jun was not a savior. He did not think he could save everyone, but Earth was his home. His family and friends were all here. If he wanted to change everything, then he had to take the first step. He had to make people wary of the so-called star sky, true gods, and not blindly believe that they were gods. However, the Star Sky Church had been established for nearly 1,000 years. Its thinking was deeply ingrained in people's minds. It was definitely not something that could be changed overnight. Perhaps this first step would cause him some trouble. Some believers might not understand, but Lin Jun did not care. With his current strength, what could those people do? Besides, the real Star Realm experts might not really believe in the Star Sky Church. They only believed in power. As long as he showed enough power, even if someone had opinions, they would have to obediently hold it in. Facing Yin Huang was Lin Jun's opportunity. It was his first step to change people's thinking. As long as Lin Jun succeeded, he was sure that 100% of the people on Earth would become his most loyal followers. Moreover, the arrival of the extraterrestrial civilization was not far away. There were about 4 years left. He would arrive in the blink of an eye if he cultivated. Some people were dissatisfied with Lin Jun's words, but in front of the son of God and Alan, no one dared to speak carelessly. Many people took out their phones and secretly took pictures. Am I being presumptuous? Many people may think so, but let me tell you, when you look at what I said one day, you will feel that what I said is incomparably correct. Lin Jun had been holding these words in his heart for a long time. At this moment, he said them with great momentum and directly hit people's hearts. After all, although nearly half of the world's believers were in the Star Sky Church, more than half of the people did not believe in the Star Sky Church. Lin Jun's words resonated with many people. I also think that the Star Sky Church is a bit deceitful, but it's none of my business. I don't want to care about it. Lin Jun is too courageous. Of course, Lin Jun is courageous. He has the strength and capital. At least I believe that even if many believers are unhappy with Lin Jun, he won't be in any danger in Huaxia. After all, he has done so many good things for Huaxia. If an ordinary person said that, they would probably be killed by countless believers. That's true. Only Lin Jun can say that, and only he dares to say it. But I support Lin Jun. I also support Lin Jun. Aren't you a believer of the Star Sky Church? Why do you support Lin Jun? I'm only half a believer. In fact, I joined the Star Sky Church partly to see Su Mingwe. But now that Su Mingwe is Lin Jun's girlfriend, I might as well support Lin Jun. Maybe Saintess Su will think more highly of me because of this. F***CK. You pervert! I didn't see through you after all these years. You're actually my kindred spirit. There was a lot of discussion around, and many people were watching Yin Huang's performance. After all, he was going to unify the Star Sky Church. Now that Lin Jun was talking nonsense in front of him, it would be unreasonable for him to not do something. Yin Huang's handsome face didn't change, but his eyes suddenly turned cold when he looked at Lin Jun. Lin Jun was slightly on guard, but he didn't think Yin Huang would make a move at this time. Lin Jun was no match for a master in the meteor stage, but he had no problem dodging. Moreover, Yin Huang had just begun to unify the Star Sky Church. If he made a move just because someone opposed his doctrine, it would definitely harm his reputation and the church's reputation. Sure enough, Yin Huang finally spoke. Lin Jun, with my status, I don't want to argue with you here, but I can tell you that what you're doing is absolutely irrational. Offending the Star Sky Church won't do you any good. As he spoke, Yin Huang looked back at the surrounding market and at the city of ancient gods. You want to explore here, right? As far as I know, the climate on the second level of the city of ancient gods is extremely harsh. Without extreme heat or extreme cold equipment and medicine, you can't pass through. Then you'll never be able to pass through the second level. Why are you so confident? Lin Jun smiled disdainfully. Because of my status, Yin Huang said to the crowd. Then he said to the people around him, I only want to say one thing to everyone. Don't do business with Lin Jun. Don't sell him anything. Of course, if he's willing to pay 10 times the price, you can sell to him. If you sell to him for less, I'll be very unhappy. I don't want to see that happen. Almost one-third of the people present were followers of the Star Sky Church. They immediately responded to Yin Huang's call. The other two-thirds heard Yin Huang's words and thought to themselves, was it worth offending Yin Huang and the Star Sky Church for money? Seeing people's fear, Yin Huang turned to Lin Jun and smiled. See, this is the difference between status. Lin Jun, I know you're rich, so you can squander as much as you want here. Everything is 10 times the price. I hope you can still spend it. With that, Yin Huang got up and walked to the Black Ghost. He said to Alan, let's go to China. It's time for the Star Sky Church to unite. Yin Huang and Alan left. The warriors around looked at Lin Jun. Although some of them supported Lin Jun's words, it was not worth offending the Star Sky Church for this matter. They all left one after another. Zhang Yu said, F***CK. Why are you so arrogant? Lin Jun, let's not waste money. Let's go to the ancient god ruins. Chapter 294. Zhang Yu could not think of any other way for Lin Jun to make the people here trade with him. After all, although Yin Huang's words were not in order, there were very few people here who would offend the divine sect for some money. Unless Lin Jun could come up with something that could move people's hearts, but could that be done without spending money? Zhang Yu's brain was also quite sharp. He suddenly said, hey, idol, that holy sun is stupid. So what if you don't go out a trade? If you want to buy something, I can go. He doesn't forbid me from trading with others. Even if he forbids me, it's useless. I still have friends. I can just call a few over. It won't delay me from buying anything. Lin Jun laughed. Do you think you're the only smart person here? How could Yin Huang not think of this? In fact, he knew very well how binding his request was. In the face of a huge profit, that request was useless. What he wanted was that people would not be willing to sell to me unless I took out direct video evidence and made them trade with me willingly. Otherwise, I would have lost this battle that was not a battle. You still need to take out evidence. That's terrible. I don't think ordinary people will offend him directly. Zhang Yu said with a bitter face. Yes, most people wouldn't do that. If I can't produce evidence, it would be equivalent to giving him a free advertisement. The whole world would say, look, Lin Jun still can't compare to the son of Saint. With just one sentence from him, no one would trade with you. We're not even on the same level. At that time, I would become a joke, and no one would take my words seriously. This move of his is indeed ruthless, subduing the enemy without a fight. Then what do? Do we surrender? Zhang Yu asked. Surrender? It's too late to surrender now. We only have one path, and that is to fight with him to the end. Don't even think about running away. The whole world probably knows that you are selling fake goods, so you should obediently do it with me. Okay, I will listen to my idol. You tell me what to do. Okay, let's set up a tent here and prepare to stay for a long time. Setting up a tent was very simple. Almost every martial artist brought a tent with them when they went out. Lin Jun had already collected so many interspatial rings that he had plenty of tents. He got the biggest one and built it in a place slightly further away from the market. The two of them stayed there. Lin Jun first made a long list and handed it to Zhang Yu. Just by according to the list. Buy these things the first time, and then Zhang Yu nodded his head to indicate that he had memorized all of the information he needed to know. Then, Lin Jun transferred 50 billion yuan to Zhang Yu's card for him to purchase items. Lin Jun had to prove himself in this matter. Although he did not even make a move this time, this was a war without smoke. If it did not become a joke, Lin Jun would slap Yin Huang's face. Although Lin Jun was very famous in the world, he still could not compare to Yin Huang. The moment he appeared, he had the support of half the world's population. Lin Jun could only be considered a celebrity, and among ordinary people and low-level martial artists. Those True Star Realm experts probably did not care much about him. Zhang Yu ran out. After a while, he returned and handed a large pile of things to Lin Jun. Idol, I bought it all back. Buying these things really cost money like water. Half of the 50 billion yuan was spent in the blink of an eye, and this was when I bargained with others. Okay, you don't have to report to me. I will pretend that I didn't see you pocketing a little. Zhang Yu chuckled. How could I? A little, just a little. Zhang Yu left the tent, and Lin Jun sorted out the things he had bought this time. This time, he had asked Zhang Yu to buy two things. One was the cold element, and the other was the fire element. Lin Jun wanted to go to the second layer of the polar region, so he needed to have the power of either cold or fire. Even if the incident with Yin Huang did not happen, Lin Jun did not want to rely on external forces to achieve this. His rich experience in his previous life told him that the more dangerous a place was, the more unexpected the situation would be. Only one's own strength could guarantee one's safety. All external forces were unreliable. Moreover, the core of the planet in Lin Jun's body already had the power of cold and fire. Why not use this time to absorb the resonance? There were some outstanding martial artists in the world who could master more than one elemental power. Some could even master 2 elemental powers, and some could even master 3. But no matter who it was, they could not master the power of fire and cold at the same time. Ice and fire were 2 elements that naturally countered each other. They could not coexist. If one wanted to master the power of ice and fire at the same time, then there was only one outcome, and that was to be killed by the conflict between the 2 powers, or be turned into charcoal, or become an ice sculpture. But Lin Jun was different. He had a dark star in his body, and the dark star had become a carrier. It was a planet that stored the power of ice and fire on the planet. Moreover, they were both in Lin Jun's dantian. He could use whichever one he wanted. So Lin Jun's cultivation of the power of ice and fire was the easiest. Because the 2 powers could stimulate each other and improve, he had an advantage that no one else could compare to. It was just that he did not have the time to cultivate. Now, he wanted to use this opportunity to resonate with the power of ice and fire. First, he picked up the items related to ice and put away the items related to fire. The power of ice and fire was different from lightning and light. These were 2 extremes of temperature. Not only did Lin Jun have to control the temperature, he also had to let the elemental power grow. In his hand was an A-rank mutated beast crystal. This crystal was not worth much, but it contained the power of ice. Lin Jun first placed the crystal in front of his dantian. Then his dantian chi moved, and the dark star in his body began to revolve. The cold energy at the 2 ends of the dark star slowly began to appear. Lin Jun had not resonated with the cold energy yet, so he could only use the power of his dantian chi to force it out. The cold energy in his body was formed by absorbing the power of the blizzard in Jiaodong. The cold energy was not strong, and the temperature was about -50 to -60 degrees Celsius. The power of the ice element is also very strong. -50 degrees Celsius is called extreme cold. -75 degrees Celsius can form a unique astronomical phenomenon that can be used in battle. -100 degrees Celsius can kill people instantly because it will immediately freeze all the water in a person's body, causing them to die instantly. Without a strong star power, it is impossible to resist. -150 degrees Celsius can easily kill a star realm expert. -200 degrees Celsius is called sub-absolute zero. It is said that it is so strong that it can instantly kill a comet stage or even a 3rd-level Eternal Realm expert. There's another legend about the cold energy, which is absolute zero. 273. 15 degrees Celsius. Once this temperature is reached, all the atoms, molecules, and particles in the universe will lose their kinetic energy and everything will be frozen. Even light and lightning will be frozen at absolute zero, let alone life. However, absolute zero is a legend. In theory, it is impossible for it to appear. Right now, I just need to control the temperature to use in battle. This is still within my capabilities. The cold energy was wrapped in Lin Jun's dantian chi and moved forward. It was lifeless and did not resonate at all. It was like a lifeless object. However, just as Lin Jun was about to move the cold energy out of his dantian, the cold energy sensed the power of the crystals outside and immediately became restless. It wanted to break free and become stronger. If it could absorb the power of the crystals outside, it would become stronger. Of course, Lin Jun would not let the cold energy leave. When he sensed that the cold energy was moving, he immediately covered it with his mental power. Ice was actually the solid state of water. The water molecules and atoms inside had all turned into ice crystals. When Lin Zhen's mental power covered it, he immediately saw the shape of the ice crystals. They were tiny hexagonal crystals that formed a ball of cold energy that did not disperse. Lin Zhen wanted to resonate with the ice crystals. He began to fully release his mental power. He wanted to let the cold energy feel a chance to grow stronger, but it had to be guided by him. The ice crystals tried to break free from Lin Zhen's mental power and Dantian Qi. However, in Lin Zhen's Dantian Qi Ci, he was a god. The weak cold energy could not do this at all. If you want to leave and grow stronger, come and resonate with me. His mental power gradually spread out and integrated into the cold energy bit by bit. Lin Zhen, who had experience in resonating with elemental power, was much smoother this time. After more than an hour of disdainful effort, he suddenly saw the ice crystals in his body become bright and cheerful. It resonated. Lin Zhen was very happy. He sent the A-rank mutated beast crystal forward, and it was immediately absorbed by the cold energy in his body. After swallowing the external power, the cold energy immediately surged and grew stronger. Having resonated with the cold energy, Lin Zhen could clearly feel the changes in the cold energy. -55 degrees, -60 degrees, -65 degrees, -68 degrees, -68 degrees, negative. When it reached -70 degrees, the cold energy finally stopped cooling down. Very good. The mutated beast crystal is indeed useful. Now, I will absorb all the A-rank crystals and let the cold energy grow stronger. This amount is too little. Zhang Yu bought a lot of A-rank crystals, and Lin Zhen immediately began to absorb them in large quantities. After an entire day, the north and south poles of the dark star in Lin Zhen's body had turned into a silvery white color. This should be enough. With this cold energy as the foundation, I can achieve an endless cycle through the dark star. In the future, I can use it to my heart's content in battle. After the cold energy resonance was completed, Lin Zhen immediately began to resonate with the flame energy. There was a lot of lava fire in the dark star. Lin Zhen followed suit and tried to resonate with the flame energy using the A-rank mutated beast crystal as a guide. Lin Zhen's flame energy was similar to the cold energy. However, the flame energy was more reflected in the temperature. The strength of the flame energy was mainly reflected in the color. It was generally divided into red, orange, yellow, and white. Red was further divided into light red, deep red, cherry red, bright red, and so on. When it reached the highest dazzling white, the temperature was enough to vaporize any substance. Picking up the A-rank mutated beast crystal, Lin Zhen glanced at the noisy town outside before starting. As long as he could resonate with the cold energy and the flame energy, then he, Lin Zhen, would be able to make the best equipment in this town. When the time came, those who wanted to pass the second level would definitely flock to him like a flock of ducks to trade with him. By exchanging equipment for materials, he could increase his strength and cultivate without spending any money. Chapter 295. Lin Zhen cultivated the power of fire for an entire day. When he absorbed all the A-rank mutated crystals, the fire in his body was completely resonated. After the resonance was completed, Lin Zhen snapped his fingers and a bright red flame jumped in his palm. The temperature of this bright red flame is over 700 degrees Celsius. It's enough for primary infusion, but it's still not very competitive in the market. Next, I need to absorb S-rank crystals to further improve my power of ice and fire. This time, Lin Zhen invested a lot. 50 billion had been spent in 2 days, and he had already taken out another 50 billion. After all, S-rank crystals were not cabbages. After 3 consecutive days, Lin Zhen absorbed a large number of S-rank crystals. He almost swept all the crystals on the market, and his power of ice and fire finally made great progress. For ice, he had already mastered -100 degrees Celsius. For fire, he had mastered -1,500 degrees Celsius, and the color of the flame had finally advanced to a dark orange color. At this point, if Lin Jun still wanted to improve, he would need at least SS rank mutated crystals. However, that kind of thing could not be found on the first floor of the City of Ancient Gods. It could only be found on the second floor. Currently, the exploration of the second floor was not complete, and it was not sold on the market. That's about it. I can only reach this level for now. It's also thanks to the Dark Star as a carrier that I can cultivate with ease. If it were anyone else, they would be dreaming if they wanted to simultaneously resonate with the power of ice and fire. Next, I should try to infuse them. Lin Jun took out a 7-star sword from the space ring. He had a total of 7 7-star swords. Currently, he had already infused the 3 elemental powers of gold, lightning, and light. Now, he was going to infuse the 4th and 5th. First was the 7-star sword. White meteoric iron was a non-elemental material. The 7-star sword did not feel anything special in his hand, but it was very heavy. Lin Jun's mind moved, and the ice crystals began to enter the 7-star sword. As soon as the ice crystals appeared, the temperature in the tent began to drop rapidly. Specks of white mist quickly appeared on the canvas of the tent, and then it began to condense into frost. The frost was thickening at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then it froze. On the ground and on the roof, the thin layer of ice began to thicken. Lin Jun's breath was white. The 7-star saber in his hand was also rapidly cooling down. It began to turn white and shiny. There was a white mist lingering around it, making it difficult to see the blade clearly. If a thermometer was placed on the 7-star sword, the temperature on the thermometer would drop rapidly. -30 degrees, 50 degrees, 80 degrees. It went all the way down to -100 degrees Celsius, which was the lowest temperature that Lin Jun could control. Buzz! The 7-star saber let out a humming sound as it was filled to the brim with cold energy. Lin Jun withdrew the cold air. The inside of the 7-star saber was full of cold air, already forming a cycle of its own. Its quality had also reached the peak of a best-grade astral tool. Lin Jun's mind moved, and the 7-star saber flew around the tent. Immediately, the entire tent was almost frozen. Thick ice was everywhere, and it was even colder than the South Pole. That's enough. Such a saber can even affect a Star Realm expert. As for those below the Star Realm, I'm afraid most people will be frozen to death by this cold air. After filling the 7-star saber, Lin Jun began to fill the 7-star saber with the fiery 7-star saber. The reason why he first filled it with ice was to freeze the tent. Then, when he filled it with fire, he could only melt the ice and not burn the tent immediately. Holding the 7-star saber in his hand, with a thought, the power of the flames began to swarm in. The white non-attributed throwing knife immediately turned light red, and then the color gradually darkened. From light red to dark red to cherry red to bright red to light orange. When it reached dark orange, the 7-star saber was finally filled. At this time, all the ice in the tent had just melted, and even the tent had been dried up. If it heated up a little more, it would burn. Lin Jun played with the 7-star saber lovingly. A top-grade astral weapon might not be sharp enough, but its most powerful attribute was the power of the flames. If one didn't have any special skills, it would be very difficult to resist it. Just as he finished with the 2 7-star sabers, Zhang Yu came in from outside. "Phew, Idol, I'm back. Have you bought everything I asked you to buy?" "I've collected everything. It's all here." Zhang Yu handed over a space ring to Lin Jun. Lin Jun opened it to take a look. Inside, there was a large pile of equipment, ranging from low-grade astral tools to best-grade astral tools. Of course, the lower the grade, the more there was. These astral weapons all had the same characteristic, which was that they didn't have any attributes. They were just weapons or armors. "Okay, these things can be used. I'll start filling them now, and then you could take them out to sell." Zhang Yu nodded, but then he said hesitantly, "Idol, recently, the limelight on the internet is very unfavorable for you." "Oh, what's unfavorable?" "It's all because of the incident with Yin Huang. Many people have posted the video online. You've really angered the public this time. It's as if the whole world is scolding you." There are all kinds of things. Even I've received hundreds of millions of insults since I've been with you. But compared to you, I'm not even a fraction of the number. Oh, there's so many people. Are there many in China? Compared to other countries, there are few in China. Among all the base cities, Bingcheng has the least. Linjin nodded slightly. As long as his country and hometown weren't out of control, it was fine. As for those abroad, he didn't care. Seeing that Linjun didn't seem to care, Zhang Yu was relieved. But many people are defending you, especially in Bingcheng in China. Many people have been helped by you, and some people simply don't like the Star Sky sect. They're all supporting you. There's a war of words on the internet. Do you want to check it out? Lin Jun shook his head slightly. That's not necessary. It's hard to accept this the first time, but the next time I attack the Star Sky sect, I don't think there will be such a strong reaction. Next time? Idol, aren't you afraid that Saintess Su will be unhappy? She's the Saintess of the Star Sky sect. Lin Jin smiled. Yuer won't be unhappy. In fact, Yuer is probably the most clear-headed person in the entire Star Sky sect. It's just that her identity has determined that she can't speak for me. I've already told her that. A few days ago, Lin Jun had called Su Mingyue and told her his decision. He didn't want Su Mingyue to be put in a difficult position because of this matter. In fact, Su Mingyue had deep doubts about the Star Sky sect. She stayed in the Star Sky sect out of habit, and she hadn't made up her mind to leave until she had to choose between Lin Jun and the Star Sky sect. Su Mingyue respected Lin Jun's decision. Later, she told Lin Jun that the saint had arrived in Huaxia and had made the churches in the northwest, Tianfu, and the south submit to the saint's leadership and return to the management of the Divine Might Church in Constantinople of the European Union. Currently, the Saint Yin Huang was in Moda Bay City. If he recovered the churches in Moda Bay City, then the Grace Church in the capital would be the only one left in Huaxia. After all, the Sophia Church in Bingcheng had long been on the same side as the saint. Gong Sun-du had also been thinking about this matter these days. He knew that Yin Huang would definitely come back. In Su Mingyue's opinion, Gong Sun-du wouldn't refuse this matter. After all, Gong Sun-du was a true believer and should obey the saint's leadership. After ending the call with Su Mingyue, Lin Jin knew that the saint would follow the steps of his previous life and unify the Star Sky sect in the world. After the Star Sky sect was unified, it would be a large force that could almost compete with a country. It would be the 8th largest force in the world. Lin Jin couldn't stop this process for the time being. The only thing he could do now was to give the saint a hard slap in the face in the city of ancient gods. This was the only way people wouldn't think that Lin Jun was a person who couldn't be compared to the saint. Only then could things continue in the future and cast a shadow over his magnificent feat of unifying the Star Sky sect. The videos on the internet were nothing more than how Yin Huang was tall, mighty, and approachable. He treated the Russian girl, then angrily scolded Lin Jun and Zhang Yu for selling fake goods. In the end, he casually left a sentence and suppressed Lin Jun until he couldn't trade. And Lin Jun's words must have become the target of criticism now. Lin Jun already knew this in his heart. He took out a low-grade astral tool armor from among the astral tools, and then said to Zhang Yu, "Go prepare now. Prepare to set up a big stall. Do as I told you before, and set up the price. 3 days later, we will open for business. In these 3 days, I will concentrate on pouring the ice and fire equipment and strive to pour them all out." "Okay, idol. I'm good at these things. Hee, it's great to be with my idol. I used to be a middleman, but now I'm a manufacturer. I'm going to make a lot of money." Then Zhang Yu probed, "Idol, the market is getting better and better. Take it to the fiery pole. After activating the Dantian Qi, an armor that can reach minus 50 degrees Celsius can be sold for a good price. If it's 70 degrees Celsius, it's good stuff. If we can make it 80 degrees Celsius. TSK, TSK. Okay, don't keep probing me. 70 degrees Celsius is nothing. The highest is minus 100 degrees Celsius. Go and make it. One buy do. My God, that's definitely going to make those guys drool. The highest I've ever seen is minus 82 degrees Celsius, and even that was sold for 2 billion. Starting from 50 degrees Celsius, it's sold for 100 million. Well, that's it. By the way, there's also the flame. The highest is 1,500 degrees Celsius. Go and advertise it. After the infusion, this temperature would be released externally. It would only appear when the Dantian Chi was activated. It was not that the armor or the weapon itself had reached this temperature. The externally released temperature would resist the external cold chi or heat waves and would not cause any harm to the martial artist. Zhang Yu agreed and went out, but when he went outside, he suddenly realized why Lin Jun could infuse the power of ice and fire at the same time. Won't he be killed by the conflict of these two energies? Zhang Yu was puzzled. However, Zhang Yu also had his own way of thinking. If he didn't understand something, he wouldn't think about it. The only explanation was that Lin Jun was a genius. The world of geniuses and mortals was different. Chapter 296. Zhang Yu had been very busy these past few days. He had made his stall very big. Although there were many stalls in the city of ancient gods, they weren't big because the warriors didn't have many things to sell. The most popular thing here was the equipment and medicine needed to survive on the second floor. The effect of the medicine was to prepare for passing through the boundary. However, most of the warriors didn't want to go to the third layer because the second layer's mutated beasts were already strong enough. It wasn't easy to survive there. Going to the third layer was no different from courting death. If one wanted to survive on the second floor, the most important thing was equipment. It could be cold resistance or fire resistance, just these two types of equipment. It wasn't easy for many warriors to inject equipment because the elemental energy in their bodies was limited. They weren't like Lin Jun, who had the Dark Star and could use it as much as he wanted. After injecting equipment, he had to rest for a long time. He also had to use crystals to replenish his elemental energy. Therefore, the output was very low. Furthermore, crystals needed to be bought with money. How many people could be like Lin Jun, taking out hundreds of billions at once without batting an eyelid? Therefore, there weren't many good equipment on the market, and the price was extremely high. Therefore, when Zhang Yu set up a stall selling ice and fire equipment, many warriors snorted in disdain. Zhang Yu, what are you doing with such a big stall? Do you have so many fake goods to sell? That's right. Ice and fire equipment? Where did your equipment come from? Going to the second floor requires real equipment, not fake stuff like yours. That definitely won't work. Zhang Yu looked at the warriors and vendors who had gathered around and clapped his hands. You don't have to worry about that. My idol, Lin Jun, will solve the supply problem. Just wait and see. Lin Jun? What kind of equipment can he make? I know that he's a genius and can resonate with the light and lightning elements. However, what we need is ice and fire. How can he get it? Isn't that so? Even if he can make some equipment, do you think we'll offend the Holy Sun for a piece of trash? I definitely won't buy anything from him. He can forget about getting anything from me. Me too. Although I don't really like that Holy Sun, I'd better save it for a few pennies. Zhang Yu looked around. Just say what you want now. When the equipment comes, don't cry and beg me to buy it. I might not sell it to you then. TSK, keep pretending. We'll see what you and Lin Jin can do. Where did Lin Jin go? He hasn't appeared in days. Could it be that he was defeated by the scolding online? It's very likely. After offending the saint, he's in for a tough time now. Lin Jun is also stupid. Why did he go against the saint? Although he won the championship of the War God Arena, how can he compare to a Star Realm expert? A small fry doesn't have the self-awareness of a small fry. While these people were talking at once, the curtain of Lin Jun's tent was finally lifted. Lin Jun had absorbed a lot of crystals during these days of cultivation. His power had improved a little. Not only had he stabilized his peak level 9 realm, but he was also 1 foot into the threshold of the quasi-star realm. Although Lin Jun had offended the Holy Sun and the Divine Sect, he was still extremely powerful in the eyes of these war gods and quasi-star realms. No one dared to say anything bad in front of Lin Jun. They all looked on coldly from the side. Lin Jun came to the front of the stall and looked around. Not bad, Zhang Yu. It's basically done. It's almost done. Put the goods on the table and we can start. Okay, let's start. Lin Jun started taking things out of his spatial ring one by one and placing them on the stall one by one. When the first piece of equipment was placed on the table, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. It was a low-grade astral arm guard with a dark blue light. It was of the cold attribute. Oh, This armed guard isn't bad. A martial artist walked over and picked up a thermometer. He started to test the temperature of the armed guard. He activated a bit of Dantian Chi and let out a bit of cold air from the armed guard. After testing it, he was stunned. Not bad. This armed guard can release temperatures as low as -70 degrees Celsius. With this, we can walk half the way to the River of Flames. Many of the surrounding martial artists were immediately tempted. It wasn't easy to find a -70 degrees Celsius astral tool. Should they consider buying it? However, they didn't move immediately. After all, it wasn't worth offending the holy sun for this armed guard. Afterwards, a dazzling matter occurred. Armor of cold chi, helmet of cold chi, shield of cold chi, long sabers of flame, leg guards of flame, skirt armor of flame. One by one, low-grade astral tools were laid out. The martial artists on the other side followed behind and tested the items. They were shocked after a while. Wow, a -72 degrees Celsius leg guard. This is a good thing. A leg guard is crucial to walking on the River of Flames. With this thing, we can walk on fire anywhere. Hey, look at this. This is a helmet with a temperature of 900 degrees Celsius. With this, the cold air at the South Pole can hardly freeze people's ears and noses. This is even more useful than medicine. This is good. This is a shield with 1,000 degrees Celsius temperature. With this, we can basically stay alive in the South Pole. I want this. Don't worry. Let's take a look. These are all low-grade astral tools. If there are mid-grade astral tools, we'll consider buying. Lin Jun placed more than 50 low-grade astral tools on the table. Then came the mid-grade astral tools. There were more than 30 mid-grade astral tools. They were mainly defensive equipment. There were all kinds of astral tools, and the cold air and firepower contained in them were different. After seeing the mid-grade astral tools, these martial artists couldn't stand it anymore. Several of them came to Lin Jun's side. Lin, the African Union and Huaxia have always been friendly. I'm also a loyal fan of yours. Can you sell me 2 pieces of equipment first? I want that shield and those boots. Lin, although some Russian martial artists may have offended you, I have never offended you. Moreover, the majority of the Russian people are quite fond of you. I am willing to be your lifelong friend and companion. I want that sword and helmet. Can you also give me a low-grade astral tool skirt armor as well? Lin Jun, we're all from Huaxia. Many people on the internet have criticized you these days. I even spoke up for you. If you have good things, you should give priority to our compatriots. Forget it. Now that the world is open to navigation, the concept of national borders has gradually become blurred. I believe Lin Jun is not a narrow-minded nationalist. We EU martial artists are willing to be friends with Lin Jun, and Ning is Lin Jun's girlfriend. She has also been in the EU for a long time. Don't try to be friends with him. And Ning was almost killed by the EU people. You still want to be friends with Lin Jun. Have you forgotten that the Holy Sun is also in the EU? Be careful. He'll make trouble for you. If Lin Jun can sell me a high-grade astral tool with a fire element, I won't be afraid. Lin Jun did not pay attention to these people. After he finished arranging the middle-grade astral tools, he began to arrange the high-grade astral tools. There were close to 20 high-grade astral tools. Of course, the price was not low, but it nevertheless attracted even more people to come and watch. Amidst the exclamations, Lin Jun finally placed 7 or 8 top-grade astral tools. Oh my god, armor with -100 degrees Celsius. With this and some medicine, I can walk to the North Pole. I want it. I'll pay 10 billion. Save it. You want to buy a top-grade elemental armor with 10 billion? Dream on. I'll pay 200. 220. I'm an admirer of Su Minghua. In my heart, holy daughter Su is my sister. Brother-in-law, sell it to me. Get lost. You're almost 60 years old. What kind of sister are you talking about? If you want a sister, she should be young and promising like me, who is less than 50 years old. At first, there were many believers of the divine sect who were watching coldly. They all knew about the conflict between Lin Jun and the Holy Sun. They had made up their minds to never support Lin Jun. However, after those top-grade astral tools were taken out, they could not stay still. Should they buy it? Should they go against the Holy Sun's wishes? Faith and reality began to fight fiercely in their hearts, making it difficult for them to make a decision. After everything was placed, the European Union war god at the front immediately came to the stall. "Lin, I want to buy a sword and a pair of boots. You can name a price." As he spoke, the war god pointed at the two pieces of equipment and said, glancing at the middle-grade astral tool boots and sword, Lin Jun said lightly, "Are you a believer of the divine sect?" "That's right. So what? I'll pay for the things I buy," the European Union war god said. "Hee. You can see that there are many people filming. These videos will be uploaded to the internet, which means that the saint will see them. You all know about the conflict between the saint and me. Wouldn't doing business with me be slapping him in the face? Have you thought of the consequences? Be careful that he will expel you from the divine sect." The European Union war god was stunned and did not know what to do. Lin Jun waved his hand. "You can go. I'm not selling my equipment to you." He was not willing to give up. He walked around in circles anxiously, not knowing what to do. A quasi-star state, non-union war god walked in front of Lin Jun. "Lin, I want to buy an armor and a shield." That and that." Lin Jun shook his head slightly. "I don't think so. I have to think about your safety. If the Holy Sun makes trouble for you, I will become a sinner." The non-union war god laughed. "Lin, thank you for your kindness, but you don't have to worry about me. I'm not a believer of the divine sect, so I'm not bound by the Holy Sun. Besides, can he stop me from buying things? The Holy Sun is nothing. I'll buy whatever I want with my money. Do you think he'll bite my bird?" Hearing the non-union war god's words, Lin Jun finally smiled. "Okay then, but the things I have here are more expensive. I'm mainly trading. You could talk to my assistant Zhang Yu about the details." The negotiation process was also very fast. The non-league war god used 5 crystals, 2 dark energy stones, and 3 billion gold to trade for 2 pieces of equipment worth close to 10 billion gold. Lin Jun not only sold, but also bought a lot of things. Some of the good things could replace cash. Chapter 297. Lin Jun's equipment was very expensive, but there was one good thing. Many good things could replace money. Zhang Yu made a long list, such as dark energy stones, elemental crystals, ancient secret books, that could all be used to replace money to buy equipment. Although Lin Jun's items were expensive, they were all worth it. Compared to other ice and fire equipment on the market, the price-to-performance ratio was still higher. Many quasi-star realms and advanced war gods gathered around and made deals with Lin Jun and Zhang Yu. And this time, Lin Jun didn't need to remind them. They all more or less said a few words about the Holy Sun to show that they definitely supported Lin Jun. For those who believed in the divine religion, the Holy Sun might be supreme, but for those who didn't believe in the divine religion, the Holy Sun was just a stronger star realm. He couldn't take his anger out on everyone just because of buying equipment. Midway, a member of the divine religion even came to buy equipment. He even covered himself tightly. After saying a few bad things about the Holy Sun, he panicked and actually took off his mask. He was recognized as the European Union's war god from the beginning, making a joke out of himself. By the end of the first day, Lin Jun had already recouped his costs and even obtained a lot of good things. Just the dark energy stones alone, Lin Jun had obtained more than 60. Adding to the ones he already had, he had more than 100 dark energy stones. This was a huge fortune, not to mention that there were many mutated beast crystals and astral tools. Just as the sky was turning dark and more than half of the goods had been sold, Lin Jun and Zhang Yu were about to close the stall. A man in green clothes appeared in front of the stall. Seeing this man, Lin Jun's heart trembled, because this was a Star Realm expert. He wasn't just a normal Star Realm expert. This man's strength had already reached the flux stage. This is an expert on the star ranking. Lin Jun immediately made a judgment. The man in green clothes had his eyes on a top-quality astral tool, a pair of boots. When traveling in the polar regions, boots were even more important than armor. Lin Jun had the most boots, but top-quality astral tool boots couldn't be bought by normal people. Of the 7 or 8 best-grade astral tools, only 3 remain now. This pair of boots imbued with 100 degrees cold chi was the best among them. The green-clothed man glanced at Lin Jun. Lin Jun. Lin Jun didn't know him, but he knew Lin Jun. Lin Jun smiled and said, "Senior, what do you want to buy?" The man in green pointed at the boots and said, "I want this. Do I have to say that the Holy Sun is nothing before I can buy it?" Lin Jun laughed. "That's just a joke. Too many people have already said that." "All right, then I won't say any more. Although he really isn't much, how much are you selling these boots for?" "This best grade astral tool is the best in this stall, 30 billion. The green-robed man frowned slightly. 30 billion was not a small sum. He really did not have that much money on hand. His gaze fell on Lin Jun's exchange list. The green-robed man looked at it for a while, and his eyes suddenly lit up. "Are you willing to buy this ancient secret book for 15 billion? Lin Jun glanced at what he was pointing at and was suddenly moved. Because the green-robed man was actually pointing at the 5th layer of the 9-layer spear river. Lin Jun had been longing for this secret book for too long, but he had never bought it. He didn't expect the green-robed man to have it. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Lin Jun nodded. "That's right. If Senior has this secret book, then it can replace 15 billion in cash at my stall." The man nodded and looked at it for a while. Then, he took out a chipped secret book from his spatial ring. In addition, there were some dark energy stones and the like. In total, he exchanged 20 billion in cash. Finally, he added 10 billion in cash and completed the transaction with Lin Jun. "All right, I finally got something good. Lin Jun, let's get to know each other. I'm Jin Qichao." The man extended his hand and shook Lin Jun's hand and introduced himself. "So it's Senior Jin. Nice to meet you." Lin Jun smiled and was secretly surprised. So this person was Jin Qichao. Jin Qichao was also a famous person in his previous life. He was the founder of the Northwest Military Force and was someone from the same generation as Chun Fenglai. However, this person did not spend much time in the country and was always active in the Central Asia region. In his previous life, when the extraterrestrial civilization invaded, he once led a group of experts in the Northwest Military Force to fight a beautiful sniping battle and annihilate a unit of the invaders. It was a rare victory in the history of China against extraterrestrial civilization. Hee, there's no need to call me Senior. I heard Li Changjing and Feng and I talk about you, but now they have been left behind by you. Who knows when we will be of the same generation?" After exchanging a few pleasantries with Lin Jun, Jin Qichao entered the city of ancient gods. After Lin Jun obtained the 5th level of the secret book, Flip the River, he did not immediately rush to cultivate it. Instead, he put everything away and handed it to Zhang Yu for him to take care of. He then leisurely returned to his tent and took out the AI Chip's secret book. He connected it to the virtual reality helmet and began to study it. In the capital city, Yin Huang and Alan arrived in front of the Church of Divine Grace. Gong Sun Du, who had already received the news, was already at the door to welcome them. As for Su Mingwei, as the saintess of the divine sect, she naturally had to come out to welcome them. She was wearing a priest's robe, and her black hair was like a waterfall. Her simple makeup could not hide her heavenly beauty, causing Yin Huang to be stunned. Both sides exchanged a few pleasantries before taking a seat in the room. Yin Huang went straight to the point and said, "Great Divine Master Gong Sun, I'm sure you know why I'm here today." Gong Sun nodded slightly. Of course he knew. The divine sect has been divided for hundreds of years and should have been unified long ago. Now, other than America and Brazil, Russia, the European Union, the African Union, and India have all officially joined the divine sect. As for China, only the Church of Divine Grace is left. What do you think, Great Divine Master Gong Sun? Gong Sun had already thought about this. The unification of the divine sect was something he had been looking forward to. Since the Saintess had appeared, he naturally had no objections. Lord Saintess, Gong Sun has no objections. The divine sect should be unified. This is for the best. Haha, that's good. Since the great divine master has no objections, this matter is settled. Yin Huang smiled and glanced at Su Mingwei, who was looking down at her phone. At this moment, Alan suggested, "This is a good thing. We should really celebrate. Is great divine master Gong Sun ready? The food is already prepared. We're just waiting for the saintess." "Good. Let's eat." Yin Huang stood up. At this moment, Su Mingwe suddenly laughed. Her voice was crisp. Gong Sun Du frowned slightly. Su Mingwe's etiquette was very good. She was also very quiet and indifferent. She had never lost her composure like this. What was wrong with her today? What are you doing? Gong Sun Du asked. Ah, master. Su Mingwe laughed and realized her mistake. She hurriedly stood up. Master, I'm sorry. I just saw something funny. Isn't feeling well today, so I won't accompany you to eat. I'll go back to my room first. Su Mingwe nodded slightly to express her apology, then turned around and left the hall. She returned to her room. Seeing Su Mingwe leave, Yin Huang's eyes showed a trace of regret. Saintess, I'm really sorry. Isn't usually like this. She's already 20 years old now, but sometimes I feel like she's regressing. When I have the chance, I'll discipline her properly. No need. The Saintess is true to her nature. If she deliberately changes, it won't be beautiful. This is good. Yin Huang waved his hand and then asked Alan, what was the Saintess laughing at just now? Alan wasn't too sure either. Instead, his gaze fell on a few clergymen. Did you see what the Saintess was looking at? One of the clergymen stammered. I think she saw a piece of news. I didn't see it clearly. It seemed like a warrior forum. A group of people were fighting to buy something. After hearing this, Yin Huang immediately took out his phone and opened the forum. The news this time was very easy to find. There were many videos on the God of War forum. They were all from the city of ancient gods. The titles of the news were also varied. The Saintess ban becomes a joke. Warriors fight to support Lin Jun. Believers of the God of War cover their faces to buy equipment. They scold the Saintess for being a fart. God of War champion Lin Jun makes a fortune in the city of ancient gods. The Saintess becomes his stepping stone. Yin Huang's eyebrows moved slightly. He didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at the video of the believer buying equipment. Although he didn't say anything, Alan knew that the Saintess was very unhappy. It turned out that Su Mingwe was laughing when she saw this. Alan had a bad feeling. The Saintess of Huaxia was laughing at the Saintess of the God of War. This matter was very likely to anger Yin Huang. However, that Lin Jun was really powerful. He was actually able to encourage a large number of warriors to trade with him under the Saintess ban. He had ruthlessly stepped on the Saintess' face. Those media reporters were people with no integrity. In order to gain attention, they would say anything. Now that the Saintess had become a laughing stock, her prestige must have taken a big hit. After watching for a while, Yin Huang turned off his phone. Then, he stood up and said to Gong Sun Du, I suddenly remembered that I have already made an appointment with the God of War in Los Angeles. I won't be staying in Huaxia. Hearing that Yin Huang wasn't going to eat here, Gong Sun Du was stunned. He hurriedly stood up to send him off. After walking out of the Church of Divine Grace, Yin Huang and Alan boarded the Black Wraith. Alan felt that the temperature around Yin Huang seemed to have dropped a few degrees. He could see that the Saintess was extremely unhappy. Saintess, this matter. Lin Jun. I really underestimated him. Yin Huang closed his eyes slightly. Alan didn't know how to continue, so he sat on the side. I heard that Su Mingwe is Lin Jun's girlfriend? Yin Huang asked. Alan nodded. It seems like that's the case. According to the original teachings of the God of War, there should only be one Saintess and one Saintess. They should become husband and wife and serve the God together. However, the God of War has split up. Saintesses have appeared in every country. It's time to sort it out. There can only be one Saintess. Alan understood what Yin Huang meant. Then is Saintess Su qualified? The first awakening of love is still pure. As long as she doesn't have any thoughts, she will be a qualified Saintess. Chapter 298. Zhang Yu is so busy these days that his feet barely touch the ground. After Lin Jun obtained his secret manual, he returned to his tent and didn't come out, leaving everything to him to handle. Zhang Yu was a businessman, so he really couldn't understand Lin Jun's current actions. This brat is rich, but he's too good at squandering. Aside from putting some equipment at the entrance of his tent at a certain time every day, he couldn't be found for the rest of the time. Furthermore, Lin Jun gave Zhang Yu a large sum of money, 300 billion. This 300 billion was for Zhang Yu to use to buy things. Lin Jun even started to collect those strange coins, silver coins and gold coins. He also bought a very rare white crystal coin. Who knows what use that thing has aside from looking good? This is also okay, it's not worth much, but Lin Jun started to buy astral tools in large quantities. Currently, many war gods have astral tools, and even more than one or two. Some of the astral tools that they don't use aren't easy to digest, but Lin Jun started to buy them. Whether it's low quality, mid quality, or top quality, Lin Jun didn't refuse any. Furthermore, he mainly bought weapons and armor. The cheaper the better, the more the better. Zhang Yu did some calculations. If Lin Jun didn't buy so much, this stall could even make 50 billion a day. However, under Lin Jun's crazy buying, not only did he spend the 50 billion he earned every day, he even spent another 50 billion. Especially after the news spread, many war god level experts from all over the world came here to sell their equipment. In one day, Zhang Yu even spent 110 billion to purchase the equipment. This money was spent like water, making Zhang Yu's heart and liver tremble. According to what he knows, Lin Jun already has over 2,000 astral tools. He really doesn't know what Lin Jun wants these astral tools for. It's not like he can eat or drink them. Moreover, Lin Jun's tent was moved quite far away. Every day, sometimes it would be a fire, sometimes it would be wind. Zhang Yu doesn't know what he's doing. Recently, he had heard that the divine sect was going to make a big move. The Holy Sun, Yin Huang, was meeting with the leaders of various countries. Zhang Yu did not know what they were discussing. He wanted to tell Lin Jun, but he did not have a chance. He could only wait for him to come out. Lin Jun was also very busy these few days. Other than completely memorizing the 9-layer Spear River's 5th layer, he didn't even have time to train. He was doing something else. Star Shift. Lin Jun thought that when humans walk out of the solar system and enter the interstellar space, the outside world would be even harder to survive. If a martial artist wanted to cultivate and climb to the peak, then they would need a lot of resources, and that's money. Although he had collected, he still had to have the ability to earn money. Therefore, he finally started something that he had been planning for a long time, and that was Star Shift. Repairing the star observation mirror required Star Shift. Star Shift wasn't a simple thing. In the interstellar space, there was a very profitable and expensive profession called Star Shift Master. Just like repairing the star observation mirror, they would transfer the star energy from other astral tools to an abandoned astral tool of the same level to complete Star Shift. It wasn't necessary to transfer one astral tool out of 10. The higher the level of the Star Shift Master, the higher the number of astral tools used. To become a Star Shift Master, one must first become a Star Shift Master apprentice. Apprentices were divided into 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 1st grade, and Quasi-Star Shift Master. 3rd grade Star Shift Master apprentice. The passing score was 3-1. That was to use 3 lower grade astral tools to complete Star Shift. 2nd grade Star Shift was also 3-1, but it was to complete a middle grade astral tool Star Shift. 1st grade Star Shift was also 3-1, which was to complete a high grade astral tool Star Shift. Quasi-Star Shift Master Star Shift was to complete a best grade astral tool Star Shift. The consumption ratio was 3-1. If the consumption ratio was lower than this, one wouldn't be considered qualified. As for the real Star Shift Master, they could perform a Saint Tool's Star Shift with a ratio of 3-1. Moreover, the success rate for Astral Tool Star Shift was almost 1-1. At present, almost no one on Earth had the financial resources to do this, because Star Shift had to be done from low to high. The success of a Star Shift Master was based on countless failed Star Shifts. Only then could they gradually complete Star Shifts with fewer astral tools. However, Lin Jun could. He had 400 billion in cash in his hands. Moreover, he had a super strong ability to pour equipment. He could make money and buy equipment at the same time to complete his proficiency in Star Shift. However, Lin Jun didn't immediately start Star Shift. He was familiar with the process of Star Shift. At present, he already had the Star Shift furnace. It was to place the target of Star Shift on the upper level, then place the materials and astral tools on the lower level, using a powerful flame to burn them, then transfer the star energy to the upper level. Currently, He had mastered a dark orange flame. At this level of flame, he could at most stars shift an intermediate grade astral tool. If he wanted to complete a higher level, he would need powerful firepower. However, no matter how powerful his firepower was, he would at least need a large number of quasi-SS rank crystals. He didn't have such crystals, and they weren't sold on the market. Therefore, he needed to resonate with the wind element. With the help of the wind element, his fire could become stronger. Lin Jun had also purchased a lot of wind element crystals. This time, he would be able to resonate with it and strengthen it. Resonance wasn't difficult for Lin Jun, who had the Dark Star. Lin Jun completed it in 2 hours. The wind element in his body could form a maximum of grade 6 wind force. However, this wasn't enough. Lin Jun absorbed a lot of A-rank elemental crystals, allowing his wind force to reach grade 9. Grade 9 wasn't enough. Lin Jun also had some S-rank crystals, so he simply absorbed them all. In the end, his wind force reached grade 12. Grade 12 wind force might sound strong, but Lin Jun knew that it wasn't strong. Yu Jinhua's wind force had reached grade 15. That was the true power of a hurricane. However, that required a quasi-SS rank crystal, which he didn't have. The strongest wind force on Earth could reach grade 18. For humans, it was practically a world-destroying storm. However, it was nothing in the universe. As far as Lin Jun knew, there were levels above grade 18. A grade 21 wind force was called a doomsday storm. It could easily destroy everything on Earth. It could even cause mountains to collapse and continental plates to drift. Above grade 21 was a grade 24 wind force. It was called a galactic storm and could even destroy asteroids. Above grade 24 was a grade 27 wind force. It was called a spatial storm and could engulf an entire galaxy. Lin Jun had only heard of it in legends. That was too far away for the current Lin Jun. His current level 12 wind force was enough for him to use Star Shift with just a little wisp. After absorbing the wind force, Lin Jun even tried to absorb the earth force. He had also bought some earth force crystals. There were both A-rank and S-rank crystals. As long as he could absorb the earth force, then the Dark Star would have real soil. He would be able to form a solid body. He believed that his strength would definitely be able to make another breakthrough. However, after trying, Lin Jun was dismayed to find that because the Dark Star was already very condensed, low-level energy couldn't be absorbed. In other words, if Lin Jun wanted to absorb the earth force, then A-rank and S-rank crystals wouldn't be enough. He would need at least quasi-SS rank crystals, or even higher. This discovery made Lin Jun somewhat disappointed. If he had known, he would have absorbed the earth force earlier. He had waited for a while to stabilize his realm. In the end, there was a problem. Forget it. If I can't absorb it, then so be it. I'll wait until I get high-grade earth force crystals in the future. Lin Jun didn't linger on this matter. Instead, he started the Star Shift. The first thing he took out was the armor he got from Yufeng. The star power had been completely exhausted. He placed it on the upper level of the Star Shift furnace. The lower level was filled with 10 low-grade astral weapons. With a raise of his hand, flames appeared and were injected into the Star Shift furnace. Then, with another raise of his hand, a gust of level 7 wind blew into the furnace. It continued to blow, causing the temperature of the flames to rise. The 10 low-grade astral weapons below began to emit a faint starlight, and they continued to swim up. Lin Jun tried to use his mental power to prevent the loss of star power as much as possible. His attempt was slightly clumsy. 10 minutes later, starlight scattered, and the 10 low-grade astral weapons below were all scrapped. Phew, I failed, but it doesn't matter. I'm still not proficient enough. The combination of firepower and wind power isn't very good. In the Interstellar, most Star Shift masters only have firepower and no wind power. After all, not everyone can master 2 types of elemental power. I must lay down this foundation so that I can be the best Star Shift master in the future. Fire and wind power must be well coordinated. Anyway, I have plenty of astral weapons, and I can afford to consume them. A few days later, Lin Jun began to crazily consume astral weapons. One by one, the astral weapons turned into scraps. His Star Shift was also gradually becoming more proficient. On the second day, Lin Jun finally succeeded in repairing the armor at the cost of 10 astral weapons. With this breakthrough, Lin Jun's progress was much smoother. Under the constant consumption of a large number of astral weapons, he was able to use 5 low-grade astral weapons on the second night. On the morning of the third day, he reached 4. On the night of the third day, he finally reached the requirement of 3-to-1. He was now a low-grade star shift master apprentice. However, Lin Jun didn't stop. He began to try star shift with middle-grade astral weapons. More than 1,000 low-grade astral weapons and more than 600 middle-grade astral weapons were all consumed by Lin Jun in 5 days. However, his achievements were also huge. On the afternoon of the 6th day, Lin Jun's rate of repairing middle-grade astral weapons was 3-to-1, and his rate of repairing low-grade astral weapons had reached 2-to-1. He was now a middle-grade star shift master apprentice. Even on the morning of the 7th day, he had consumed more than 100 high-grade astral weapons. This kind of spending speed could be said to be unprecedented. Chapter 299. Looking at the star-observing mirror in his hand that had recovered its starlight, Lin Jun felt a burst of excitement in his heart. 600 billion. He had spent at least 600 billion in the past few days. Not only did he spend the money for the elemental energy equipment, but he also spent 300 billion himself. After spending all this money, he was only able to restore high-grade astral tools. There was still a long way to go before he could become a first-grade astral apprentice. Fortunately, I finally repaired the stargazing mirror. This time, I believe that old man Gongsun Do has no reason to stop you from being with me. Putting away the stargazing mirror, Lin Jun stretched his body and stood up. When he walked out of the tent, Zhang Yu had also just gotten up. When he saw Lin Jun, he immediately ran over. Lin Jun, you're finally willing to come out. You haven't appeared for almost 7 days. Other than sometimes going to your tent's entrance to retrieve some of the astral tools you've poured in, I haven't seen your figure. Lin Jun smiled at Zhang Yu. I was busy with something. I want to ask you something. Do you know where I can find earth elemental crystals? Earth elemental? Yes, I do. You asked me to buy water, fire, wind, and earth elemental crystals. Didn't I give them all to you? That won't work. The higher the better. It has to be at least SS grade. That's not easy to find. We haven't bought a single SS grade crystal these days. Anyone who has it will treat it as a treasure. They won't be willing to sell it unless we find it ourselves. Zhang Yu thought for a moment. But I heard that there are many high-level mutant beasts on the 3rd floor of the City of Ancient Gods. The lowest level is SS grade. You can find all kinds of elemental crystals there. Unless you go there and take a look. Well, I will go there sooner or later. Lin Jun made up his mind. He still wanted to get the earth elemental crystal first. As long as he got the dark star, he would be able to condense it. That would be the moment he broke through. Is there any news these days? Yes. The Holy Sun has completed the integration of the world's religions and announced the unification of the world's religions in the Holy Church of Constantinople. He will be the Pope. He became the Pope? When did this happen? Lin Jun stared blankly for a moment. Nothing like this had happened in his previous life, and there was no such title of Pope. However, things had changed in this life. It's today. The news has already spread all over the world. Only a madman like you, who is focused on cultivation, doesn't know about it. It's probably being broadcasted live on the internet now. If I didn't want to set up my stall, I would be watching the live broadcast right now. Lin Jun waved his hand. Let's not set up a stall. Let's watch the live broadcast first. Lin Jun took out his phone. The internet was flooded with news about the Holy Sun becoming the Pope. The coronation ceremony was held in the Holy Might Church of Constantinople. When Lin Jun was watching, it was already nearing the end. He saw Yin Huang wearing the golden papal robe and sitting on a chair in the great hall of the Holy Might Church. He was high and mighty, like a god looking down on all living beings. Yin Huang was a mixed blood. His facial features were well-defined, and he looked quite dignified in the robe. Cheers were heard all over the world. Countless believers were celebrating the ascension of their pope. There were 2 relatively small seats on the left and right of his throne. However, there were no seats on them yet. No one knew who they were reserved for. Under the Pope's throne, on the marble floor that was as smooth as a mirror, there were 30 elders in golden robes. Each of these 30 elders was a star realm expert. There were 27 great divinity sects in 27 base cities around the world. Each of these great divinity sects was an elder. There were also 3 star realm experts. These 30 people were the core members of the Holy See. Alan of Bingcheng Bay City was also an elder. As one of the earliest followers of the Pope, Alan was giving a speech at the moment. This is a sacred ceremony for the whole world. His Majesty the Pope has ascended to the throne, and all the religions in the world are united. We believe that under His Majesty's leadership, we will be able to restore the glory of our religion and the glory of the past. The long speech of praising the Pope made many believers so excited that their eyes were brimming with tears. They cheered loudly. After that, a reporter on the scene asked, "Elder Alan, His Majesty the Pope has ascended to the throne, and there are elders below. However, according to our observation, there are 2 seats on the left and right of His Majesty. Who are these 2 seats reserved for?" Alan smiled. "That's a good question. His Majesty the Pope is the Son of God. He is someone who can communicate with God. He is the incarnation of God in the mortal world. However, he can't always be alone. He needs a partner. Of these 2 seats, one of them is reserved for the future queen. Queen, can you reveal the queen's name? Why didn't she appear in this sacred ceremony?" The reporter asked. "I can't tell you that for now. However, I can tell you that in 100 days, His Majesty the Pope will hold a grand wedding. Although the queen's name is kept a secret for now, she must be the most perfect woman in the world. She must also be a devout believer in God." There was an uproar below. Many people were guessing who the future queen would be. "Elder Alan, who is the other seat reserved for?" Alan said, "The other seat belongs to our Holy See's Chief Inquisitor. The Chief Inquisitor has power second only to His Majesty the Pope and Her Majesty the Queen. He is the 3rd person in our Holy See." "Who is the Chief Inquisitor?" "It could be anyone in the world. It can even be you." Alan's words made people feel a little confused. After keeping them in suspense for a while, Alan said in a deep voice, "Although God's grace is vast, God's dignity is not to be violated. Now that the Holy See has been established, we will never let go of those who have insulted and harmed the Holy See. I hereby declare that the Holy See will eradicate a heretic." Looking at the countless cameras in front of him, Alan said almost word by word, "Lin Jun insulted His Majesty the Pope. This matter is absolutely intolerable. I now declare that Lin Jun is the enemy of our Holy See. Everything he has done to us must be repaid with his blood. From today onwards, believers of the Holy See in the world, no matter who kills Lin Jun, the Holy See will grant him the position of Chief Inquisitor." When this news came out, the whole world was shocked. The Holy See was newly established. They were going to use Lin Jun to establish their power. The events of a few days ago were still vivid in their minds. Lin Jun had spoken nonsense in the city of ancient gods. Not only did he completely deny the Holy See, he even denied the existence of the starry sky, true gods. This matter made many believers of the Holy See in the world unhappy. The voices calling for Lin Jun to be severely punished also became louder and louder. However, Yin Huang had never said anything about this matter. This even made many believers of the Holy See disappointed. They felt that the Holy See was too tolerant of Lin Jun. However, no one thought that it was not that Yin Huang did not want to take revenge on Lin Jun. He did not make a move, but once he made a move, he wanted to force Lin Jun into a dead end. How many believers of the Holy See were there in the world? There were 2 billion people in the world. More than half of them were believers of the Holy See. Under such circumstances, could Lin Jun still get anything good? How could he survive in this world? Perhaps, wherever there were people, there would be people chasing after him. Moreover, the Pope had promised great benefits. The person who killed Lin Jun would get the position of Chief Inquisitor of the Holy See. That was a position only below the Pope and the Queen. It could be said that it was only below one person and above hundreds of millions of people who would not be tempted. It was believed that even in Huaxia, many people were tempted by this matter. In an instant, Lin Jun became the public enemy of the world. At this moment, the entire world's internet was flooded with comments. Lin Jun had once again become famous. Outside the country, countless people were clamoring to kill Lin Jun. Many people posted videos. They were now heading to the city of ancient gods to find Lin Jun's whereabouts. In China, Lin Jun also had a large number of supporters. Many people had also become the Holy See's opponents at this moment. They had long been on Lin Jun's side and cursed the Holy See's actions. Especially in Bingcheng, although many people supported the Holy See, they were not the majority. Most people here still liked Lin Jun. According to statistics, there were about 40 million believers of the Holy See in Bingcheng. When the Holy See announced that they would eliminate Lin Jun, the number of believers in Bingcheng plummeted to 25 million. Many people announced that they would leave the Holy See, and the number was still increasing. Many people even organized to go to the city of ancient gods to protect Lin Jun and fight the Holy See to the end. Although many people supported Lin Jun did not feel happy at all. Although the result was not bad, and he was not afraid of the Holy See's pursuit, he was not alone. He still had his parents, and Ning, and Mingyu. If these people could not kill Lin Jun, what about his parents? What about a Ning and Yu? Would someone want to harm them and use them to threaten Lin Jun? Lin Jun's tent was located quite a distance away from town. When Lin Jun saw the news, he immediately told Zhang Yu to leave as soon as possible. The further, the better. He didn't want anyone to recognize him. Otherwise, they might take it out on him. Zhang Yu also knew that the situation was serious, so he immediately left in the aircraft. Before leaving, he told Lin Jun not to worry and that he had a way to survive. Lin Jun immediately boarded the Black Spirit and rose into the clouds. The first thing he did was to call his parents. As soon as the call was connected, Li Yao answered. Li Yao told Lin Jun that he had just finished his business with Bing City's Marriott Group and arrived at the Azure Sky Dojo. He saw the news online and had brought Lin Jun and Li Qin to his secret residence. He told Lin Jun not to worry and that they were absolutely safe. Lin Jun heaved a sigh of relief. People in this world could suspect anyone but Li Yao. This was because Li Yao was his mortal enemy. His parents were absolutely safe with him. Li Yao would never betray Lin Jun. After that, Lin Jun's second call was to Ning. Ning immediately answered the call. She only told Lin Jun not to worry about her and that Group definitely had the ability to protect her. No one could hurt her. Instead, she asked Lin Jun to come back immediately. She wanted to be with Lin Jun. Lin Jun did not want to go back for the time being. He could only comfort Ning over the phone. Ning, who had always been a strong girl, even started to cry. Lin Jun, you don't have to worry about me. You have to live well. If you're not around, what will happen to you, Uncle and Andy and I? You should call you She must be worried sick. After hanging up the phone, Lin Jun heaved a sigh of relief. He believed in Ning's words. The Group was China's largest financial group, and even the world's largest financial group. The power behind it was definitely shocking. Then, before Lin Jun could call Su Mingwei, Yuer's call came. Su Mingwei smiled like a flower in the camera. Lin Jun, don't worry about Yuer. I am the saintess of God's sect. No believers of God will hurt me. Yuer believes that the person I love is a great hero. No difficulties or obstacles can defeat him. If you really have an accident, Yuer will follow you in life and death. If you win, then remember that Yuer will wait for you here. Lin Jun nodded. Su Mingwei suddenly cried. Lin Jun, Yuer hasn't cooked for you yet. You must come to me. I beg you. Lin Jun looked at Yuer, who was crying. He gently hung up the phone and then posted a message on the internet. Chapter 300. Lin Jun posted the message and then kept his phone. At this time, many people from all over the world were rushing to the city of ancient God, ready to take Lin Jun's life to add glory to the Pope's coronation. At this time, the conflict between Lin Jun and the Holy See had completely erupted, but Lin Jun's heart was relieved. Sooner or later, he would have to face this, so he decided to come sooner rather than later. Lin Jun had already made up his mind. On his path to the peak, there was no such thing as justice or evil. Anyone who stood in his way was evil, and he must get rid of them. After checking his belongings, he didn't lack any daily necessities. The number of dark energy stones had reached 150, and there were many kinds of crystals. He was currently at the peak of the 9th grade War God realm, just a little bit away from breaking through to the Quasi-Star realm, but he still lacked a little bit of maturity. Lin Jun didn't want to be chased all over the world, so there was only one place for him to go, and that was the city of Ancient God. In the city of Ancient God, mutated beasts ran rampant, so having too many people wasn't an advantage. Since those people wanted his life, then they must be prepared to lose their lives at any time. You won't necessarily win just because you have more people. Lin Jun also wanted to go to the 3rd floor to look for the Earth Elemental Crystal, so he might as well play with the followers of the Holy Sea in the city of Ancient God. Lin Jun changed into new equipment. During this period of time, he had also made 2 sets of equipment for himself. Except for the armor, which was a holy tool, he changed the rest of the defensive equipment. All of them were top-grade astral tools, including a helmet, arm guards, skirt armor, leg guards, boots, and spirit defense astral tools. One set was made of ice, and the other was made of fire. Lin Jun first put on the ice equipment and took out the 7-murder spear. The black spirit in the clouds spat out clouds, enveloping the black spirit. Lin Jun rested for about an hour before opening his eyes. He lowered his head to look at the entrance of the city of Ancient God and found that there were already thousands of people gathered here. Almost all of them were followers of the Holy Sea, and most of them were war gods. There were also a few generals and Quasi-Star Realm experts among them. Lin Jun even saw a divine sect elder in a golden robe standing there. He was a Star Realm expert and seemed to have come from a certain church in India. He must have just come from the Pope's coronation ceremony. These people gathered in front of the city of Ancient God and were negotiating with the guards of the War God Alliance. They didn't want to spend money to enter the city of Ancient God because they came here to eliminate Lin Jun. The guard didn't know what to do, but he still tried his best to stop them. Bastard, you are shielding Lin Jun. He must be in the city of Ancient Gods. Do you want to fight against the Vatican? Lin Jun is already the enemy of all the believers in the world. If you continue to be stubborn, we will burn you as a heretic. Everyone, ignore him. We are eradicating heretics. This is the greatest holy war. Everyone, charge. Lin Jun glanced at them and took a deep breath. Come on, since you are all here, don't even think about going back. These people didn't have any grudges with Lin Jun, but because of the Pope's words, they rushed from all over the world to take Lin Jun's life. Lin Jun didn't have any sympathy for them. Lin Jun came out of the black spirit and spread the thunder light wings behind him. Streaks of lightning appeared behind the thunder light wings. Lin Jun didn't have time to nourish them during this period, so they were still accelerating at 3 times the speed of sound. The black spirit was put away, and the clouds gradually dispersed. Someone with sharp eyes saw Lin Jun in the air. He is there. He hasn't entered the city of Ancient God yet. Everyone who can fly, go. Kill Lin Jun, and you can become the Inquisitor of the Vatican. Some people who could fly rose into the air. There were even many people who stepped on a new type of small flying device that looked like a step. They flew at a relatively slow speed toward Lin Jun. As for those who couldn't fly, they all raised their phones to take pictures. Everyone in the world can see it clearly. Look at our holy war to eradicate heretics. Lin Jun, this guy, actually dares to stay in the city of Ancient God. Today is his doomsday. This will be the greatest moment I have ever recorded. Lin Jun, this heretic, will be torn to pieces by the warriors of our holy war. You, Lin Jun, are a famous person. Don't die so easily. That won't give me any sense of accomplishment. I still hope to use your blood to polish my sword. Long live His Majesty the Pope. Heretics will be eradicated. Looking at the bloodshot eyes of these desperados who had been incited by religious fanaticism, Lin Jun let out a loud laugh in the sky. Ha ha ha. Religious fanaticism can really mess with people's hearts. You ant-like people came to find trouble with me because of a sentence from your so-called Pope. Then today, you will all be buried with your holy war. Lin Jun had a pure land in his heart, and that was his family and lovers. He wanted them to live well, so he had to hold up the sky for them. If Lin Jun died, his family and lovers wouldn't be able to live. So for them, Lin Jun had to live well. For the sake of living well for me, all of you should die. Lin Jun raised one hand, and the dark star in his body began to revolve wildly. A large amount of energy began to surge out of it. Now that Lin Jun had resonated with all the elemental energy in the dark star, the pressure of this energy ball had reached a terrifying level. Dazzling light, surging electricity, scorching fire, bone-piercing ice, sharp metal, whistling wind. All the energy surged and roared together, growing bigger and bigger in Lin Jun's palm. The power of electricity illuminated the sky. Rumble, wind, and clouds swirled in the sky. It was unknown whether it was Lin Jun's wind that attracted the clouds, or the lightning in Lin Jun's hand that attracted the lightning. The desert that rarely rained all year round was actually raining. The power of electricity surged, and Lin Jun's figure was like a star in the sky. Even if people were standing on the ground, they could still easily feel the pressure brought by the energy ball. All of you go and stop him. Stop this heretic from attacking. Victory will belong to the holy war. Kill. The crazy people howled, shouting themselves hoarse at Lin Jun. It was as if they wanted to eat his flesh. The spirit reader masters in front increased their speed and rushed towards Lin Jun in groups. In the distant sky, more and more aircraft appeared. The army that was hunting Lin Jun had already rushed over from all over the world. Lin Jun died. The first batch of spirit reader masters arrived, and attacks came from all directions. Flying swords, flying knives, bullets, spirit attacks, and even poisonous smoke. The omnipresent attacks covered the sky, vowing to take down Lin Jun in one fell swoop. Lin Jun's mouth hooked up into a cold smile. When the attacks of these people were about to reach him, he moved his mental power and teleported. With his diamond-level mental power, these people did not even have the qualifications to interrupt his teleportation. Lin Jun teleported more than 200 meters away. With a flap of the thunder light wings, Lin Jun flew several hundred meters in the blink of an eye. He was already 50 meters above the crowd on the ground. He was already somewhat unable to control the energy ball that was getting bigger and bigger. He had already reached the point where he had to spit it out. A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. The people on the ground who were excited by the fanatical atmosphere saw Lin Jun's figure rushing down. They could even clearly see Lin Jun's expression. Some of the stronger war gods shot up from the ground and used their strongest attacks to kill Lin Jun. Kill. Tear him to shreds. The position of head judge belongs to America. At this time, Lin Jun finally released the energy ball in his hand. He suddenly raised both of his hands high, and the energy ball in his hands burst forth with light and fiercely smashed towards the densest part of the crowd on the ground. Light and electricity were drawn together. Ice and fire were clashing, and an incomparably sharp metal aura whistled under the acceleration of the wind. The energy ball did not hit the ground. Instead, it directly split open 50 meters above the crowd. The people below were packed like sardines in a can. They were densely packed, and there was almost no gap to speak of. As a result, the energy ball exploded with a disastrous effect. The strong light was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes at all. Most people saw a mass of white light in front of their eyes. When they instinctively blocked their eyes, the carpet bombing arrived. Poo-pee-you-pee-you. The metal aura easily pierced through people's bodies. This energy ball contained hundreds of strands of metal aura and directly killed hundreds of people. The roaring lightning wreaked havoc, and countless people's bodies were electrocuted into charcoal. The roaring flames, with the support of the wind, were like the arrival of doomsday. The flames as high as 1,500 degrees swept through the crowd, and the terrifying fire snakes swallowed and burned everything. A foul stench swept through the crowd, mixed with countless people who were frozen stiff by the low temperature. These people either screamed or jumped, and some people even directly turned into ice sculptures in the air. All the blood in their bodies froze in an instant, and then fell to the ground and directly shattered into pieces. Disaster. This was a man-made disaster. A large crater was instantly blasted open in the ground, and the devastating energy spread over a radius of tens of meters. There were originally thousands of people standing in this area. These people were the most loyal followers of God and the vanguard of the crusade against Lin Jun. Other than a few Star Realm experts and a few advanced-level war gods who realized something was wrong and quickly dodged before Lin Jun made his move, this area of tens of meters was cleared out. Not a single person was left alive. Not a single complete corpse was left. For those who were watching the live broadcast on the internet, many of the videos were cut off at this moment. The last scene was the devastating energy storm after the bright light, and the people who were crazily screaming and dying in the blink of an eye in the fire and lightning. Chapter 301. After Lin Jun's attack, the scene suddenly quieted down. It wasn't just the people around him who were quiet. The entire city of ancient gods was quiet. Even the whole world was quiet. This was Lin Jun. Was this Lin Jun? Was this the Lin Jun that the Pope had issued an order to make all the believers in the world want to kill? Was this the Lin Jun that had won the God of War arena and had yet to advance to the Star Realm? How could he be so terrifying? Almost everyone was shocked by Lin Jun's crazy attack. This attack was so powerful that it had actually killed thousands of people. These thousands of people weren't ordinary people. More than half of them were war gods, and almost half were warlords. There were even 2 Star Realms in the crowd who hadn't been able to escape in time. They had actually been completely annihilated by Lin Jun's crazy attack. The telekinesis masters in the air stopped. They didn't even dare to continue attacking Lin Jun. This kind of bloody massacre was enough to intimidate too many people. Lin Jun's face was as cold as ice as he looked around. This was the effect he wanted. He didn't want to kill too crazily. His final battlefield was in the city of ancient gods, but he wouldn't allow too many ignorant people to appear in his battle. For those who were weak but had been incited by religious fanaticism, only iron and blood could make them sober up a little and retreat in the face of difficulties. In his previous life, Lin Jun had even suspected that he was the only remaining Earthling in the universe. After experiencing an era where there were no Earthlings, deep down, he didn't want to kill too many Earthlings. Although this attack had killed many people, if it could make more people sober up, Lin Jun felt that it would be worth it. Sure enough, most of the people around him looked fearful and didn't dare to move. Lin Jun's goal was about to be achieved. As for the remaining experts, if they were willing to come, Lin Jun would accompany them to have fun in the city of ancient gods. However, at that moment, a voice rang out. Demon! In a corner of the scene, the Russian girl blessed by the Holy Sun, Yin Huang, stood out. She bravely pointed at Lin Jun, who was still floating in the air, and said loudly, Lin Jun, you are a demon. You are a demon that goes against His Majesty the Pope. You have killed so many people. Others may be afraid of you, but I will never be afraid of you. The girl bravely walked up. She was only in her 20s and held a long sword in her hand. It was a Western sword. Under everyone's gaze, she walked up to Lin Jun. Lin Jun frowned slightly. This place is not suitable for you. If you don't want to die, then get out of the way. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to kill such a girl. He could tell that the girl wasn't a bad person. She was just too innocent. But the Russian girl obviously did not appreciate it. She pointed at Lin Jun's nose and said, I know you. You were the one who badmouthed the Church of God. Later on, you purposely got those who bought your stuff to badmouth the Pope. Do you think that means you've won? Lin Jun looked at the girl. I'll say it again. Get out of the way. I won't. I'm a believer of the Church. His Majesty the Pope is the best person in the world. Everyone who goes against him is a heretic. You are a demon among the heretics. Lin Jun, I'm not afraid of you. I will kill you. The girl's delicate face flushed red. Although Lin Jun in front of her was strong, as a war god, she knew the difference between her and Lin Jun. But she still had to fight bravely. She picked up the sword in her hand and stabbed at Lin Jun without much strength. Everyone in the world was watching this scene. Many people felt that this was a brave and kind girl. She actually dared to use her sword in the face of such a powerful evil. Many people felt excited. They felt that their blood was boiling. They felt that they should fight bravely like this girl. Many people even felt ashamed. The blood in their hearts was burning. This girl was not afraid. What were they afraid of? But they all wanted to see the result of this sword. In many people's eyes, Lin Jun would repent in front of this kind and angelic girl. He would repent for the sins he had committed. The long sword stabbed out and went straight for Lin Jun's throat. Those devout believers were silently chanting that they must kill Lin Jun. They must kill this villain who went against the church. Then, just as the sword was about to touch his body, Lin Jun gently reached out and grabbed the sword that was about to stab him. The huge difference in strength between the girl and Lin Jun made it impossible for her to pull back the sword in her hand. Her face was flushed red, and she shook agitatedly. "Demon, let go of me!" Lin Jun's voice faintly came. "Little girl, not everything is worth persevering for. Not everything is worth protecting. In your heart, you think that the church is bright, kind, and righteous. That is your protection, but it is not mine. I, Lin Jun, have something that I want to protect. I have a dream that I pursue. Before my dream is realized, everything that goes against me is evil in my eyes. Your ridiculous strength, your ridiculous perseverance in my eyes is worthless. Even your life is as insignificant as an ant. Goodbye, self-righteous person. Since you forced me to make a choice, I will fulfill your wish," Lin Jun said until here. Suddenly, he raised one hand, and a ball of lightning energy exploded in his palm. Electric arcs jumped. In the pouring rain, a bolt of lightning was attracted by Lin Jun's lightning energy and fell from the sky. Crack! The dazzling white light fell, and the golden snake twisted. Everyone's vision blurred. The next thing they saw was that the girl who bravely stood up for the church had turned into a piece of coal. Almost all the church's followers felt a pain in their hearts. This Lin Jun was really a demon. He actually had the heart to kill such a girl. After Lin Jun killed the girl, he waved the 7-kill spear in his hand and pointed it at the crowd in front of him. "Were you awakened by her blood? Do you think that I am unpardonably evil? I said that if you are willing to die for the church, I will fulfill your wish. Under my spear, the foolish will not be left alive." There was a second of silence, and then there was an explosion of earth-shattering shouts. It was impossible to hear what the people were shouting, but countless people moved at this moment. They pounced on Lin Jun as if Lin Jun was their mortal enemy. Lin Jun did not have the slightest bit of mercy. The light energy wrapped around his body, restoring his combat strength. He raised his hand, and 6 7-star blades appeared. He also took some time to inject the wind element into the 7-star blades. These 6 flying blades were like 6 flood dragons in the sea, attacking the crowd from all directions. Wherever the flying blades passed, people would be unable to open their eyes. As the flying blades passed, corpses would fall to the ground. Wherever the flying blades passed, electric snakes would jump and thunder would roar. Chunks of coal would appear and collapse. Wherever the flying blades passed, flames would soar into the sky. People would struggle and wail in the flames. Wherever the flying blades passed, frost would sweep through. Ice sculptures would appear on the ground, recording the moment people died. Wherever the wind passed, almost everything would be swept away. Only the bloodstains proved that there were many people here before. Wherever the flying blades passed, nothing could stop them. No one could block the attack of the flying blades that had reached the level of a sacred artifact. Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings, and the 7-kill spear trembled as he charged into the crowd. Since these people were not clear-headed enough, then let them be clear-headed again. You all think I'm a demon. Actually, I think I'm merciful. If I kill more people now, then those who are not strong enough will be alerted. I'll use the blood of you fanatics to warn those who are wavering. Anyway, you all are hopeless. Lin Jun's mind was clear. The spear in his hand was like a poisonous dragon. This kind of long weapon was a weapon for group battles. Especially in this kind of chaotic situation, the opponent's experts did not have much room to display their skills. This allowed Lin Jun to perform beyond his level. War God. No matter what level of war god they were, They would not be able to last one move in Lin Jun's hands. No, a group of war gods would not be able to last one move. The torrential rain of spear lights became a killing move. Under the torrential rain, the spear lights made it impossible for people to see Lin Jun's spear clearly. After the spear lights passed, the ground was covered with corpses. Occasionally, Lin Jun would fly into the sky. After a ball of lightning, some people on flying machines and spirit reader masters would fall down like raindrops. Occasionally, he would teleport behind the crowd and raise his hand to kill at least a dozen people. Occasionally, the thunder light wings would accelerate, and the spear would pierce through 5 or 6 people. The sky would be filled with corpses and a rain of blood. From time to time, the bombardment of energy balls would cause the people chasing behind him to fall down one by one. After the network was calm for a while, someone finally could not stand it anymore. Woo-woo, stop fighting. Why do you all hate Lin Jun so much? Let them settle the conflict between him and the Pope. If this goes on, too many people will die. More than 3,000 people. From Lin Jun's energy ball until now, at least 3,000 people have died. Is this a war? It's not just 3,000. Look, Lin Jun is chasing after them now. He doesn't show any mercy to those who are not strong enough. He's really a demon. Damn it, Lin Jun did well. This daddy's blood is boiling from watching this. These dregs of the divine sect should be killed like this. Let them have an unforgettable memory. Brothers and sisters of the divine sect, those who are below the star realm should not go. Retreat. This kind of battle is meaningless. Don't be blinded by the title of head judge. Yeah, why should those who are weak participate in a battle between experts? You're asking for death. Under Lin Jun's crazy massacre, many people gradually stopped going to the city of ancient gods. Even the flying machines that were still on the way turned back. Although these loyal followers of the divine sect still hated Lin Jun had used his actions to teach them a lesson. The weak should have the awareness of the weak. Following a scream, Lin Jun's body flashed past like a ray of light. The body of a 7th-grade war god was torn into pieces by the violent spear, turning into a rain of blood. Lin Jun withdrew his spear and turned around. Behind him was a meandering river of blood and flesh. Mental energy flashed in his eyes. In the dark golden light, a diamond shone. It was so frightening in the wind and rain. He turned around and looked at the tens of thousands of people who had gathered behind him. He took a step forward lightly. There was an uproar in the group. People retreated in panic. Some war gods couldn't even stand properly and fell to the ground. Is this the ridiculous passion that the girl has awakened? Lin Jun took a step forward. The crowd retreated again. Is this the so-called warrior of the divine sect? Are you all so weak? Lin Jun suddenly strode forward, and the crowd immediately showed signs of collapsing. Is this the kind of battle you want? Then come at me. I'll say the same thing again. Die for your divine sect. Lin Jun suddenly ran. The lightning wings on his back opened again, and he flew up. Wah! Run! Chapter 302. Those below the Star Realm couldn't fight against Star Realm experts because of their speed. Star Realm experts could fly and teleport. This way, no matter how many people below the Star Realm there were, they wouldn't be able to surround and kill Star Realm experts. Although Lin Jun wasn't in the Star Realm, he could fly at an even faster speed. He could also teleport and travel further. This was his advantage. No matter how many non-Star Realm experts there were, they wouldn't be able to effectively injure him. Looking at the crowd that had collapsed in all directions, Lin Jun even flew one round and took down over 10 people along the way. This caused those who had originally intended to watch to flee pathetically. After running far away, they boarded their aircraft and flew away. Lin Jun killed most of the opponent's troops, but he didn't relax. These gods of war had been defeated, but it didn't mean that the opponent's Star Realm experts would give up. He saw that many Star Realm experts were ready to make a move. These people didn't move just now because the situation was too chaotic. Even if they had the ability, they couldn't show it. Now that the cannon fodder had left, it was time for them to move. Furthermore, more aircraft continued to appear in the sky. Although there weren't as many as before, those who still dared to come at this time were undoubtedly very confident in their abilities. The Holy See was newly established. The position of the head judge would attract too many people to risk their lives. Lin Jun waved the long spear in his hand and scanned the people present. At present, there were almost 100 quasi-star realm experts present, and the number was still increasing. If it were just those star realm experts, Lin Jun would still want to try fighting them. However, there was another star realm expert present. Lin Jun didn't want to continue fighting. This battle was being broadcasted live all over the world. The Holy See hadn't expected Lin Jun to be so difficult to deal with. They had only sent one Star Realm expert. However, there would definitely be more Star Realm experts coming. It wouldn't be wise to continue fighting in front of the city of ancient gods. Clap, clap, clap. Soft clapping sounds could be heard. The golden-robed Indian elder of the Holy See slowly walked out and clapped his hands. Good. Lin Jun, what a great champion of the god of war arena. You truly deserve the title of #1 below the Star Realm. This person had a gentle smile on his face, but it gave people the feeling that it was a fake smile. Walking in this sea of corpses, the scene was a bit strange. Moreover, there was a faint starlight floating around this person's body. Although the wind and rain were strong, it couldn't touch his body in the slightest. Lin Jun's eyes moved. This person's strength was even above Li Yao's. He was already at the middle stage of the Star Core realm. Lin Jun, I know what you are planning. Are you thinking of entering the city of ancient gods to fight with us? I advise you to give up on this idea. With me here, the outside of the city of ancient gods will be your burial ground. If I believe you, then do I have to surrender? Lin Jun sneered. Believe it or not, I'm just stating a fact, something that's about to happen. Then you can give it a try. Young man, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you barely beat a few Star Realm weaklings. If you have the ability, then kill everyone here today. The elders of the Holy See will be here in 10 minutes. If you want to enter the city of ancient gods, you only have 10 minutes. Unless you kill all of us in 10 minutes, you will definitely die. This Indian elder was right. There would definitely be many other elders of the Holy See coming. Lin Jun had to enter the city of ancient gods as soon as possible. However, the Indian elder suddenly retreated at this moment and teleported to the entrance of the city of ancient gods. He raised his hand, and a small stone appeared amidst the flickering starlight. Lin Jun, if you want to enter the city of ancient gods, then move this small stone away. Otherwise, don't even think about entering. A Star Realm cultivator at the side couldn't help but say, Elder, what can that small stone do? How can it stop Lin Jun? You don't need to know that. Your mission is to fight Lin Jun. He definitely won't be able to pass. After speaking, the elder raised his hand. The sand and stone fell to the ground and instantly turned into a huge stone, sealing the entrance. Come, I've already sealed the city of ancient gods. Let's attack together and kill Lin Jun. With a Star Realm expert leading the team, these Star Realm cultivators' confidence soared, and they all charged at Lin Jun. Lin Jun looked at the stone and felt that it was a bit strange. It also seemed to be familiar. However, he didn't have time to think about it. The real enemy had already arrived. Holding the 7 kills spear in his hand, Lin Jun's fighting spirit was already soaring. Come, let's see if you motley crew can stop me. Lin Jun flapped the lightning wings on his back and charged into the crowd. Go, stop him. Come, Lin Jun. I'll let you have a taste of the power of a Star Realm cultivator. We're not those weak war gods. Don't even think about passing. More than a dozen Star Realm cultivators appeared in front of him, and all kinds of attacks whistled through the air. As Lin Jun charged down, he activated his mentality and wanted to teleport. As long as he reached the gate of the city of ancient gods, he believed that the stone wouldn't be able to stop him. However, when he activated his mentality, the Indian elder attacked him with a mentality attack. Interrupted. Early stage diamond mentality. That Indian elder actually had the same mentality as Lin Jun and forcibly interrupted Lin Jun's teleportation. Why did I come alone out of so many elders in the divine sect? Because as long as I'm here, Lin Jun, don't even think about teleporting. Go. Because his teleportation was interrupted, Lin Zhun's movements slowed down. Countless attacks swarmed toward him. Open. Lin Zhun didn't have time to dodge. He activated his mentality barrier. A huge impact exploded outside Lin Zhun's body. The mentality barrier couldn't withstand the attacks of dozens of Star Realm cultivators and was forcibly broken. Several weapons hit Lin Zhun, but a layer of golden light appeared on the surface of Lin Zhun's body and forcibly blocked them. Sage-level armor. This kid has a Sage-level armor. Focus on attacking other parts. Seeing that the Star Realm cultivators launched another attack, before Lin Zhun could counterattack, the Indian Elder suddenly appeared in front of Lin Zhun. Stay here, Lin Zhun. A golden machete slashed down fiercely. It was actually a low-grade, Sage-level weapon. Lin Zhun infused the 7-kill spear with his gold aura and blocked with it. Wong. The huge impact caused a shockwave to spread outward. The two of them were actually evenly matched this time. The other Star Realm cultivators behind him attacked again. Lin Zhun's lightning wings flapped fiercely, and he forcefully withstood the machete that was still pressing down and charged forward. The Indian Elder's hair and beard stood on end, and his face was red. He didn't expect Lin Zhun's charge to be so fierce. 2 deep trenches appeared on the ground under his feet, and he was directly pushed back dozens of meters by Lin Zhun. Get lost. Lin Zhun fiercely withdrew his spear and stabbed forward again. The spear was like a poisonous dragon, aiming straight for the opponent's vital points. The strength of a Star Realm expert was on full display at this moment. When Lin Zhun attacked again, the scimitar in the Indian Elder's hand also danced like a whirlwind. Streaks of golden chi crisscrossed, and the two of them exchanged blows nearly 100 times. Strings of sparks flew everywhere. In only a second, the Star Realm cultivators behind caught up again. This is really hard to deal with. Mid-stage Star Core experts are really hard to deal with. I might not be able to win even if I fight alone, not to mention there are more than 100 flies behind me. If this drags on, it will definitely be disadvantageous for me. However, it was impossible to defeat the Indian Elder in an instant. Lin Zhun immediately changed his strategy. He didn't tangle with the Indian Elder anymore, and instead flapped his lightning wings and suddenly flew away. Although the Indian Elder was powerful, he was still a bit slower than Lin Zhun, who had the lightning wings. Lin Zhun ran in front, and the Indian Elder chased from behind. This immediately fell into Lin Zhun's rhythm. In the torrential rain, Lin Zhun was like a shooting star, drifting erratically in front of the city of ancient gods. Even if there were Star Realm cultivators blocking him, 1 or 2 of them wouldn't be able to obstruct him at all. Lin Zhun was in the mood to kill, and his spear was incomparably vicious. Whenever someone blocked his path, he would immediately send out a waterfall. With his current strength, 1 or 2 Star Realm cultivators could be killed with a raise of his hand. Whenever there were more people, Lin Zhun would immediately turn. He took advantage of his speed to the extreme. Screams rang out one after another as Star Realm cultivators fell one after another. The battle continued for about 7 to 8 minutes, and about 60 of the 100 Star Realm cultivators present had already fallen. If Lin Zhun had another 5 minutes, he would be able to slaughter all the Star Realm cultivators here. However, he couldn't wait any longer. A small black dot appeared at the end of his vision. That was the reinforcements of the god sect. They would arrive in at most a minute. His body suddenly charged forward. When he approached a Star Realm cultivator, Lin Zhun raised his spear and stabbed. The Star Realm cultivator instinctively wanted to block, but Lin Zhun flapped his storm wings and suddenly turned behind this person, blocking the path of the Indian Elder's psychic attack. Teleport. This time, he succeeded. Lin Zhun disappeared from where he was and appeared in front of the entrance. The 7-kill spear in his hand was infused with gold chi, and he aimed it at the big rock. Open for me. Boom. The spear stabbed the rock. Lin Zhun thought that he could shatter the rock, but he didn't expect that his spear would be violently repelled. The web between his thumb and forefinger was torn by the huge impact, and blood immediately flowed out. However, the rock didn't move an inch. This is impossible. How heavy is this rock? How strong is it? My 7-kill spear is comparable to a saint weapon after infusing it with gold chi. Why can't it break this rock? Lin Jun was now at the peak of the 9th grade combat god. His strength had reached a few 100,000 jin, but he still couldn't move this rock. This was simply unbelievable. Ha! Lin Jun, this is a treasure passed down in the New Delhi Church of India, the Sand of Ganges. With this thing blocking here, you should give up. Although the Indian elder was shaken off by Lin Jun, he wasn't in a hurry. His body floated in the air, and he laughed loudly. The Sand of Ganges. Lin Jun was stunned. He stared blankly at the black surface of the rock. Its inner energy seemed to have starlight floating around it. That's right. Isn't there a saying that a grain of sand is a world? This grain of sand is as heavy as a mountain. How can you move it? Lin Jun didn't pay attention to the elder's trick. Instead, he stared at the rock that was transformed from sand. That pressure, that palpitating feeling was so familiar. At such a close distance, it made Lin Jun's soul tremble. There was no need to explain the strength of his soul. Why did he feel fear? Chapter 303. In the heavy rain, Lin Jun looked up at the huge boulder, and his heart was in turmoil. Since his rebirth, there was almost nothing he was afraid of. If there was one thing he was afraid of, it would be the nightmarish experience before his rebirth, when his soul passed through a black hole. Black holes could be said to be the most terrifying place in the universe. Matter in them was infinitely compressed. A planet could be compressed into an object the size of a basketball in a black hole. Over there, a steel ball could weigh millions of tons. This compressed object had a name, and it was called a neutron. Black holes devoured everything that came from them. When an object was infinitely compressed, it could produce an incomparably huge gravitational force. The pulling speed of this gravitational force was likely to be greater than the speed of light. What kind of concept was greater than the speed of light? Light moved at a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second, but within the gravitational range of a black hole, even light could not escape. This proved that the gravitational force of a black hole was greater than the speed of light. Once an object moved faster than the speed of light, it was possible for time and space to be reversed. Planets were born there, galaxies were annihilated there. Time was reversed, space was distorted, and strange things were happening all the time. Lin Jun's soul was sucked into a black hole, and then he came out and was reborn. Therefore, he vaguely knew about the neutrons in the black hole. However, he did not expect that one of the neutrons in the black hole was on Earth. The actual size of this neutron was only the size of a small stone, but it was not an exaggeration to say that it was as heavy as a mountain. It was placed at the entrance of the city of ancient gods. When Lin Jun saw it clearly, he really felt his soul tremble. That was the fear that came from the bottom of his heart. He did not dare to touch this neutron stone. Seeing Lin Jun standing in front of the stone without moving, the Indian elder also waited leisurely behind him. If possible, he did not want to fight Lin Jun head-on. This kid was strong enough, and he did not have the confidence to win. When the Holy Sea's reinforcements arrived, no matter who killed Lin Jun, he believed that he would not be short of credit. Therefore, he would rather wait. There was less than a minute left, and he could easily kill Lin Jun here. If he did not move, those Star Realm quasi-stars would not go up to die. They all stayed here and waited for the result. On the horizon, aircraft after aircraft were rapidly approaching. The first pope of the divine sect, Yin Huang, had just lost his temper at the Vatican. Today was the day the Holy See was established, and it was also the day he ascended to the throne. However, he did not expect Lin Jun to mess things up again. Originally, they had thought that the order to kill Lin Jun today would definitely be able to kill Lin Jun. However, they did not expect this lad to be so unyielding. He had actually killed thousands of people consecutively and forced the church's army to retreat. Fortunately, he had asked the Indian elder to go over in advance. Otherwise, he would have been embarrassed today. Yin Huang had his reasons for sending the Indian elder over. Firstly, the Indian elder's mental strength was particularly strong. He had reached the early diamond stage and could interrupt Lin Jun's teleportation. The second reason was because this person had a strange stone in his hand. This stone came from the New Delhi church in India. It was a treasure that had been passed down for nearly 1,000 years. Every grand divinity sect could only officially become a grand divinity sect if they were able to pick up this stone. If they could not even pick up this small stone, they would not be recognized. Yin Huang had seen this stone when he went to New Delhi in India. It was indeed a very magical thing. The weight of this thing was simply immeasurable. Even with his strength, he could not pick it up. The Indian elder had told him that this stone was as heavy as a mountain. In India, children who wanted to become the Grand Divinity sect in New Delhi had to gather around this stone and train from a young age. They had to use mental strength to communicate with the stone. Only if the child could use his mental strength to truly connect with the stone, then he would be able to drive it and put it away. And this Indian elder was that lucky child. He had become the Grand Divinity sect. Because of his communication with the stone, his mental strength had skyrocketed. He had reached the early diamond stage from the late dark gold stage. Yin Huang had long believed that Lin Jun would want to go to the city of ancient gods. Therefore, he had sent the Indian elder over to prevent Lin Jun from entering. He was a person who cared about his reputation. He did not want to send too many elders at once and be criticized by the world for having an unfair advantage. However, he had not expected Lin Jun to be so ferocious that he could eliminate so many people from the demonic sect. He had no choice but to send out a second batch of elders. This time, Grand Divinity Sect Master Allen of Bingcheng Base City volunteered to go to the city of ancient gods with 8 other elders. A total of 9 people must go to the city of ancient gods to kill Lin Jun. Through the online video, Yin Huang had been watching the situation here. Seeing that Lin Jun was finally blocked by the giant stone, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Great! If Lin Jun cannot enter the city of ancient gods, then he will definitely not be able to escape the pursuit of us 10 elders. Allen and Adams of the European Union are both people on the stars ranking. They will be more than enough to deal with Lin Jun. Although it is a bit embarrassing to send out 10 elders, it is worth it to eliminate Lin Jun. If Lin Jun does not die, the reputation of the demonic sect will not be restored. Also, Su Mingyue will never give up. Yin Huang sat on the high throne of the Pope, waiting for the news of the victory of the 10 elders. As the aircraft in the sky approached, the people present and watching the video all thought that Lin Jun was finished this time. She didn't know what he was thinking. How could a rock like that block it? Many Huaxiao viewers even shouted excitedly, "Break that stone. Lin Jun, what are you doing? The enemy is coming. If you don't break it now, it will be too late." Unfortunately, Lin Jun could not hear any of this. His heart was in an extreme struggle at the moment. What should I do? I don't dare to go near it. I even want to retreat. It would be fine if I didn't find it. But I found it. My soul is resisting. I instinctively want to stay away from this thing. Lin Jun was afraid of everything in the black hole. This was also a fear that was buried deep in his heart that no one knew. In his plan after his rebirth, the only thing that he did not want to think about or could not find a solution to was this matter. When he returned to that point in time, what would he do? Fate would not favor a person twice. If he did not find a solution at that time, he might turn into ashes. But today, he suddenly encountered a little basic matter in the black hole, which awakened the fear buried deep in Lin Jun's heart. No, I have to persist. If I don't even dare to face the most basic small neutron in the black hole, I will definitely die when the time comes. Although this is an accident, it is also an opportunity for me to prepare in advance for the appearance of the black hole. I have to overcome this fear. Lin Jun raised his head and forced his body to stand in front of the huge rock. His hands seemed to be carrying thousands of pounds of weight. He slowly raised them. Sweat mixed with the rain on his forehead flowed down. With an incomparably strong will, he pressed his hands on the huge rock. Lin Jun tried hard to push the huge rock away, but it was like a dragonfly trying to shake a stone pillar. It was useless. Ha ha ha. Lin Jun, don't be wishful thinking. I told you, this rock is the sand of the Ganges River. A grain of sand is a world. Its weight is comparable to a mountain. With your meager strength, you can't move it. Lin Jun could not push it away. He simply raised his hand and tried to use his mental power to directly store it in the space ring. But it was useless. The huge rock still did not move. If you want to store in the space ring, you first have to be able to move it. You can't even move it a little. How can you store it? Lin Jun gritted his teeth. He took out the 7-kill spear. With a sweep of the spear, he cleared a large area of sand under the rock. Originally, he thought that the rock would be tilted and reveal a gap in the entrance. Then he could teleport. However, he did not expect the rock to become a little bigger in an instant. It was still firmly blocking the entrance. It's useless to tell you. This rock will not cave in because of the softness of the ground. This is the wonder of the sand of the Ganges River. Lin Jun, you should give up. Lin Jun still did not give up. He raised his hand again and released the dark star's gravity. The dark star's gravity was already extremely strong. Lin Jun could even grab the aircraft in the sky with a raise of his hand. However, he still could not move this neutron. Why? Why can an Indian elder move this neutron, but I can't? What is the reason? Lin Jun was still trying hard. He covered the huge rock with his mental power. This is... When his mental power entered the neutron, he saw an unbelievable scene. At this time, the aircraft of the reinforcements had landed. There were 9 aircraft, and 9 golden-robed elders of the Vatican came down. Among them were Alan from Ice City and Adams from Paris Bay City in the European Union. These 2 people were obviously stronger than the others. They came to the side of the Indian elder. The 10 golden-robed elders stood side by side and slowly walked towards Lin Jun. Alan walked and said, "Lin Jun, accept your fate. You should have been mentally prepared for the outcome of going against the Vatican. Although I admire your courage, I still have to say that you are an idiot." The 10 elders walked to Lin Jun's side. The 10 of them channeled their star power together. The sky and the earth were suddenly surrounded by twinkling starlight. In this situation, not only could Lin Jun not fly, he could not even teleport. Only after this scene was completed did all the followers of the church let out a sigh of relief. We won. Lin Jun was finally finished. He was captured alive by the 10 elders. In an instant, the world was filled with cheers. All the followers of the church were complaining that Lin Jun, the devil, was finally captured. Some people congratulated Pope Yen Huang, and some even proposed to bring Lin Jun back to be burned at the stake. Yen Huang narrowed his eyes slightly. Perhaps he could use Lin Jun's life as a condition to threaten the saintess, who seemed to dislike him, to do something that everyone liked to do. "Alan, capture him alive." He took out his phone and sent an order to Alan. "As you wish, Your Majesty." Alan stepped forward and reached out to grab Lin Jun's clothes. Lin Jun, give up resisting. His fingers moved, but he only grabbed a handful of air. Chapter 304. Alan's hand stopped in midair. He was stunned, and so were the other 9 elders around him. Where is he? Alan rubbed his eyes with his other hand and immediately looked around. Everything was the same. The astral power of the 10-star realms covered the area, and in the outer area, there were quasi-star realms everywhere. Did he teleport out? That shouldn't be. The few of them looked at each other, not knowing what to say. The European Union war god, Adams, even looked at Alan and said, "Elder Alan, this Lin Jun was caught by everyone. You can't take it all for yourself." Alan was a little angry. How can I take it all for myself? Do you think I can keep a living person like him in a space ring? Let's not talk about whether I can do that. Even if it's true, it will still be exposed after I hand it over to His Majesty. This is a live broadcast to the whole world. Who could take it all for themselves? Adam stopped talking. He was also anxious. How could this Lin Jun disappear into thin air? The stone couldn't be drilled in, and teleportation was impossible. This disappearance was too strange. The astral power of the 10 people was no longer sealed. They looked around. Elder Adams thought for a while. Is it possible that this guy knows how to pass through the stone and directly enter the city of ancient gods? The Indian elder waved his hand. Absolutely impossible. This sand of the Ganges is not an ordinary stone. There is no possibility of passing through. He must still be somewhere outside. Then what do you think he is? He disappeared here, but there is nothing here. Alan drew back and forth a few times at the place where Lin Jun disappeared. He even took out his sword and slashed a few times. There was nothing there. Then should we keep the stone and enter the city of ancient gods to take a look? Adam suggested again. Just as they were hesitating, the Pope called, and Alan picked it up. Elder Alan, the world of martial artists is full of strange things. It is normal for some people to have some strange escape techniques. You can search here. The focus is where he disappeared, but you must not take away that stone. If you take it away, Lin Jun will take the opportunity to enter the city of ancient gods. It will be difficult to catch him. Yes, Your Majesty, I understand. Alan hung up the phone and immediately assigned tasks to everyone present. The 10-star realm cultivators were divided into 2 groups, taking turns to guard the stone. The rest of them spread out and monitored the surroundings. As long as Lin Jun hadn't gone too far, he would definitely be discovered the moment he appeared. There would be nowhere to hide. However, no one was confident in their hearts. Lin Jun's disappearance was too strange. It was hard to say whether they could find him or not. Where did Lin Jun go? This topic immediately became a hot topic all over the world. After all, he disappeared right under the eyes of people all over the world. His sudden disappearance immediately became the focus of people's guesses. Some said that Lin Jun had already entered the city of ancient gods. Some said that Lin Jun had already escaped. There were also some who said that he might have been captured by the divine religion. Alan was the most suspicious. However, no matter what point of view was made, there would be people who refuted it immediately. No point of view could really hold firm. Of course, Lin Jun wouldn't really disappear. When Alan's hand reached over, he moved his telekinesis and folded space. He disappeared into a different space. No matter how hard they searched, they wouldn't be able to find him even if they dug 3 feet into the ground. Although Sage Lin had disappeared, he was still incomparably shocked, because just now, when his mind power penetrated into the neutron, he clearly saw the broken core of a planet. This neutron was compressed from a planet. Of course, this was no longer a complete planet. Instead, it was a sphere that had broken apart and lost most of its parts. What was left was only the core of the planet, some broken parts, and some dark matter energy, which had been compressed into a neutron. Moreover, there was some faint mind power surrounding this neutron. Lin Jun knew that it was the mind power of the person who could control this neutron. It was the Indian elder outside. After Lin Jun saw the core of the planet for the first time, he had already made up his mind. He must obtain this neutron, because inside the core of the planet, there was a powerful earth element energy. Lin Jun's current dark star was only missing the last earth element. As long as he had the earth element, his dark star would truly take shape. The method to obtain this neutron wasn't very difficult. Lin Jun only had to do 2 things. One was to completely cover this neutron with his mind power. For other telekinesis masters, this was almost as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, for a diamond-level telekinesis master like Lin Jun, it wasn't too difficult. A few days would be enough. The other thing was that he had to drive out the Indian elder's mind power. No wonder the great divinity who inherited the New Delhi church had to cultivate in front of this stone since childhood. Cultivation was a process of competition until the most powerful telekinesis master emerged, defeated all other competitors, and obtained control of the neutron. However, they didn't know that inside this neutron was the core of a planet. Lin Jun could see it probably because his soul had passed through the black hole, and the neutron also came from the black hole. In the alternate space, Lin Jun was like looking at the outside world through a glass cover. He could clearly see other people, but other people couldn't see him. If I want to drive out the Indian elder's mind power, then my mind power will surpass his. According to my feeling, our minds are still about the same. I still need to improve my mind power a little. If it was in the past, it might be difficult to improve my mind power. However, since the density of a neutron is almost infinite due to the black hole's power, it's very difficult for mind power to advance. Instead, it's an excellent place to cultivate mind power. What I need to do now is to let my mind power wander to every corner of this neutron. By then, my mind power should have improved. I hope it won't take too long. As long as my mind power advances, I will drive out that old man's mind power in one fell swoop. Anyway, it seems that he won't be able to move this stone for the time being, so he won't be able to discover my mind power inside. Lin Jun's space was almost tightly attached to this stone. Then, a thread of mental power that was 1,000,000 times thinner than a strand of hair quietly seeped out and entered the dark star. He chose a good time. It was raining and windy outside. When a thunderclap fell, his mind power seeped out without being noticed by anyone. This thread-like mind power began to wander throughout the neutron, penetrating to the core bit by bit. When his mind power entered, Lin Jun felt that it was difficult for his mind power to move forward. The neutron's density was too high, and there was almost no passage for his mind power to move forward. He could only rely on his diamond-level power to forcibly break through the neutron's matter and move forward bit by bit. The slow progress and frequent exertion of force stimulated Lin Jun's mind power to start a new round of growth. At this time, if someone were to use a microscope to search every corner of this stone, they would discover that there was a tiny spot where Lin Jun had disappeared. There was a bright diamond light shining silently. Unfortunately, that spot was too small to be noticed by anyone. 3 days. After 3 whole days of live streaming, people gradually began to stop paying attention to this matter. After all, no matter who it was, after 3 days of boring live streaming, they would be bored. Lin Jun had disappeared without a trace. People from the Divine Church came in batches and set up an inescapable net in the city of ancient gods. However, Lin Jun still couldn't be found. Some warriors who wanted to enter the city of ancient gods were also prohibited from entering. After all, the stone blocking the road couldn't be moved. This caused many warriors to be dissatisfied. However, now that the Holy See was newly established and had great power, they couldn't stop the Holy See's actions even if they were dissatisfied. The 10 golden-robed Star Realm elders were guarding this place. Among them, there were even 2 experts on the stars ranking. This was enough to cause many people to shrink back. Although they still didn't know where Lin Jun had gone, many people thought that Lin Jun might never appear again. As the 5th day passed and there was still no movement, many people began to unite to oppose the Holy See's action of blocking the entrance to the city of ancient gods. This was because not only did it cut off the way in for warriors outside, but the people in the city of ancient gods also couldn't come out. They couldn't block all the people in the city of ancient god just because of Lin Jun, who had already disappeared. People began to gather in front of the city of ancient gods to protest. Even many followers of the Divine Church joined in the protest. After all, many people in the city of ancient gods were members of the Divine Church. Regarding this matter, the Pope finally gave an answer. His answer was 7 days. After 2 days, if they still couldn't find Lin Jun, the Holy See would withdraw their troops and remove the stone blocking the road. After receiving the Pope's promise, people waited patiently. Anyway, 5 days had already passed. There would be a result in 2 more days. It wasn't until the morning of the 7th day that people gathered in front of the city of ancient gods. Lin Jun still couldn't be found. The Holy See had no choice but to fulfill their promise. In fact, these people were tired of staying here. After all, looking for someone in the air all day long could drive a normal person crazy. The Indian elder came in front of the giant rock. In order to prevent Lin Jun from having any possibility of entering the city of ancient gods, he didn't dare to touch the sand of Ganges for the past 7 days. Anyway, this thing was incomparably heavy. He didn't have to worry about it being stolen by others. When he came in front of the giant rock, he activated his mind power and began to enter the giant rock. According to past experience, as long as he activated his mind power, the giant rock would be taken back. However, this time, the giant rock only shook slightly and produced a strong resistance. What's going on? The Indian elder froze for a moment, and the people around them also noticed the changes here. Chapter 305. What happened? Alan asked the Indian elder. I don't know what's going on. I feel that there's a force here that's resisting me. Resisting you? Yes, it seems that another person is also manipulating this stone. His power is competing with mine for control of the stone. Not good. That must be Lin Jun. Alan immediately realized that something was wrong and shouted, "Everyone, surround this place." Lin Jun is still nearby. Once he... Before Alan could finish speaking, the Indian elder suddenly shouted, "He's here again." Then he leaned back, and his mind seemed to have been hit hard by a hammer. "Ah, Lin Jun, don't you dare." The Indian elder roared, and the people around him could only see the brilliance in his eyes. It was the embodiment of his mental strength operating to the extreme. He was clearly fighting with someone with mental strength. At this time, the only person who could compete with the Indian elder in mental strength was undoubtedly Lin Jun. The Indian elder also shouted. Although he didn't know how the two were fighting, it proved that Lin Jun was still here and he hadn't left. Alan and the others hurriedly surrounded the place in all directions, anxiously and helplessly waiting for the result of the mental strength battle between the Indian elder and Lin Jun. Although there were not many people broadcasting, there were still a few more persistent people who continued to pay attention to the situation here. For a time, the news of Lin Jun's reappearance immediately spread throughout the world. The number of people watching skyrocketed, and the world's attention was focused here again. Lin Jun's mental strength wandered in the neutron, like an earthworm in a hill, slowly but firmly turning over every inch of soil. As he turned over more and more, his mental strength grew faster and faster. There was only a trace of diamond light at first, but it became more and more under repeated training. One day later, the diamond aura in Lin Jun's spiritual sea reached 3%. 2 days later, it reached 7%. 4 days later, it exceeded 15%. On the 7th day, Lin Jun finally explored most of the neutron, and the diamond aura had reached 30%. I'm about to break through. As long as my diamond aura exceeds 30%, my spiritual power will reach the middle diamond stage. 30% of diamond spirit was considered the early stage, 30 to 60% was the middle stage, 60 to 90% was the late stage, and 90 to 100% was the peak stage. Exploring neutrons, which are infinitely compressed, can indeed stimulate the rapid growth of mental strength. You have to know how difficult it is to advance one's mental strength after reaching the diamond level. This is really a great opportunity for me. It's just a pity that my mind power is still a little bit away from reaching the mid-diamond realm. Once I reach the mid-diamond realm, my mind power will be considered outstanding even among star realm experts. Lin Jun's exploration ended. He had only not explored the core of the neutron because he felt a strong black hole aura there. The danger level was too high. This time, he chose to be conservative and not touch it for the time being. Although he felt a little regretful, there was no other way. Lin Jun planned to drive out the Indian elder's mental strength, then take the neutron and enter the city of ancient gods. However, when he wanted to launch a surprise attack, the Indian elder took the initiative to control the stone, and the two people's mental strength met. As soon as the mental strength met, the Indian elder discovered Lin Jun's existence. He immediately roared and blasted a mental attack at Lin Jun. Bang! The powerful recoil made Banach dizzy. He was shocked to find that his mental strength was actually weaker than Lin Jun's. How is this possible? Before Banach could react, Lin Jun's mental strength immediately counterattacked. It was also a mental attack. As if thunder had exploded in his head, Banach, who was outside, staggered and hurriedly supported himself on the boulder to stand firm. When the two mental strengths met in the stone, the diamond aura immediately burst out. As a star ranking expert, Alan was also an outstanding spirit reader. He was the first to notice the abnormality. On the surface of the stone, mental strength was constantly overflowing, and he immediately sensed it. "Elder Banach, what's going on? Is Lin Jun hiding in the stone? His mental strength is here. Help me." The Indian elder Banach said with difficulty. His eyes were already bloodshot. He couldn't resist anymore. In this kind of battle between diamond-level spirit readers, even a dark gold spirit reader couldn't help. Among the 10-star realm experts present, Alan's mental strength had also reached the early diamond level. even higher than Bonnok's. Hearing Bonnok's words, Alan immediately mobilized his mental strength. Hold on, I'm coming. Boom! Alan's mental strength also penetrated into the stone and immediately discovered both sides of the battle. Alan was shocked when he saw Lin Jun's mental strength that was almost 30% diamond. Good guy. How can this kid's mental strength be so strong? Did he start cultivating his mental strength when he was in his mother's womb? Without thinking too much, he immediately blasted a mental attack at Lin Jun. This stone must not be lost. Once it was lost, it would no longer be able to seal the city of ancient God. Alan's spiritual power was also more than 20% diamond level, which was not much different from Lin Jun's. This spiritual attack also made Lin Jun feel uncomfortable. Of course, Alan was uncomfortable too, but at least he had time to breathe. After his mental attack was launched, Bonnok related again and made up for Lin Jun. Although both of them were hit by the mental attack, it was better than Lin Jun being beaten up all the time. A series of attacks came whistling, leaving Lin Jun with almost no chance to fight back. He was defeated in the stone. What a strong pressure! Lin Jun clenched his teeth and held on. His opponents were 2-star realm masters, especially Alan, who was even a star's ranking master. If he were to face any one of them, his mental strength would be enough to win. However, when the two of them joined forces, their mental strength surpassed his. 3 diamond lights flashed on the neutron. At that moment, everyone knew that the two elders were fighting with Lin Jun. However, they could only watch this kind of battle. The only thing they could do other than be on guard was to take out their phones and broadcast the current situation. There were already many people filming in the periphery. Lin Jun has reappeared after disappearing for a week. The two elders of the divine sect are working together to capture him. The battle between the spirit readers has begun. Lin Jun is fighting 2 diamond level masters alone. A 21-year-old diamond level spirit reader. Let me show you what a genius is. Although they couldn't see Lin Jun, the tense atmosphere and the performance of the 2 diamond level spirit readers made everyone nervous. Seeing the sweat rolling down the heads of Alan and the Indian elder Bonnok, they knew that this invisible battle was extremely dangerous. Many close-up shots were focused on the faces of the 2 people, hoping to guess the progress of the battle from their expressions. After a while, people gradually saw some clues. The 2 elders had a little joy on their faces. It seemed that the battle was developing in a favorable direction. This was indeed the case. Lin Jun was fighting 2 diamond-level spirit readers alone. He was already at a disadvantage and was almost forced into a corner. Although Alan and Bonnok were also extremely uncomfortable from the power of the backlash, they were still stronger than Lin Jun. Just like Lin Jun's long river spear technique, before the first wave had subsided, another wave came to attack, not giving him any chance to breathe at all. Damn it! If it was outside, their method wouldn't work, but I can't avoid it inside the neutron. If I withdraw my spirit power, then I won't be able to get the neutron anymore. Although Lin Jun could also find Earth elemental crystals to condense the last part of the dark star, he didn't want to give up the core of the planet. If the infinitely compressed Earth elemental energy could be absorbed for his own use, it would definitely be of great benefit. Boom! Alan's spirit attack came again, making Lin Jun's mind tingle. His spirit power was unstable, and the folded space showed signs of collapse. Once his spirit power was repelled, he was likely to be exposed outside. Then, what awaited him would be a storm-like attack. No, I have to hold on. They're not feeling good either. Enduring the intense pain in his mind, Lin Jun stubbornly guarded a corner of the neutron, using his incomparably powerful willpower to resist Alan and Bonnok. Although these 2 people occupied an absolute advantage, Lin Jun was like a stubborn stone entrenched in that corner. No matter how the 2 people bombarded him with spirit power, he refused to withdraw. Lin Jun, I know you're nearby, but you should give up. You can't hold on forever. Bonnok was persuading him to surrender. Why are you persuading him? Put in more effort and beat this guy until he becomes an idiot. Alan didn't want to give Lin Jun any chance. That kid's spirit power was actually stronger than his. If he were to let him escape, he would definitely become a big problem for the God sect. The two diamond psychics mobilized their power again, not giving Lin Jun any time to breathe. They wanted to defeat Lin Jun in one go. No matter how strong one's willpower was, there was a limit to one's endurance. They didn't believe that Lin Jun could hold on forever. Lin Jun really couldn't hold on anymore. His spirit power was on the verge of collapse. The folded space began to tremble. As long as his spirit power couldn't continue, they would definitely be exposed from the folded space. Can I? What a pity. I was so close to advancing to the middle diamond stage, but in the end, I was besieged by two beginner stage. Lin Jun felt a tearing pain in his mind. He just needed to improve a little more. His spirit power was on the verge of collapse, and the blood in his body was surging. It seemed like he couldn't hold on any longer. The blood flowed from his chest to his head, making Lin Jun's face turn red in the folded space. Another spirit attack came, but this time, Lin Jun didn't feel much pain. His spirit power, which had stopped increasing, actually increased slightly under this attack, as if it had absorbed and digested the impact. Chapter 306. Lin Jun knew very well that what he saw now was not an illusion. He really saw Shaon Wan, not with his eyes, but with his soul. He could feel that Shaon Wan was on the other side of the stone. The little thing felt the danger of its master, but it could not come over, so it just lay on the other side of the stone. Lin Jun could feel it so clearly. It seemed to come from a blood that surged up just now. Back in the burning mountain of Wadalian Pond, Shaon Wan sucked Lin Jun's blood, and Shaon Wan's little teeth also had blood that had not dried yet from its birth, which had seeped into Lin Jun's body. In other words, Lin Jun's body now had the aura of a galactic beast. Shaon Wan got Lin Jun's lightning power and gold energy, but Lin Jun also got Shaon Wan's flame power, but he did not get Shaon Wan's natural devouring. After all, Lin Jun was not a real galactic beast, so he could not learn natural devouring. Lin Jun had some regrets about this, but he did not take it to heart. But now, the situation seemed to be a little different. After a mouthful of blood surged up, Lin Jun's mental power seemed to have changed a little. Bonnok's mental attack not only did not cause any damage to Lin Jun, but also slightly increased Lin Jun's mental power. This is my mental power actually swallowed Bonnok's mental attack. What's going on? Why do I feel Shaon Wan's aura? Could it be that Shaon Wan's devouring power is reflected in my mental power? Boom! Bonnok's attack ended, and Aaron's mental attack came again. Aaron's attack was still stronger than Bonnok's. Lin Jun also felt that Aaron's attack was more difficult to resist, but this time, the result was the same. Alan's mental strength hit him, but it was still swallowed up by Lin Jun's mental strength. His mental strength actually advanced a little further toward the mid-diamond level. It can't be wrong. There's no mistake this time. Lin Jun's spirits were immediately lifted. He felt incomparably pleasantly surprised. This was indeed Shaon Wan's power, the power of devouring. Although Lin Jun's body wasn't that of a galactic beast, and it couldn't really devour anything, this power had appeared when his mind power had been greatly depleted. In the end, it affected Lin Jun's mind power. His spiritual power could devour external spiritual attacks. Ha! Ha ha! The collapsing folded space stabilized, and Lin Jun's head finally stopped hurting. Although his mental power was still curled up in a corner of the neutron, the situation was completely different from before. Come on, use your mental attacks on me as much as you want. Whether or not I can make a breakthrough will depend on the strength of the two of you. Asterisk, 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 Alan and Bonnok felt a lot better now, because there was almost no backlash from the two attacks just now. Every time they attacked Lin Jun, the two of them felt quite uncomfortable. It was like a person who could smash a cactus with his fist, but every time he punched, he would be attacked by the cactus thorns. Even if this person had the ability to smash a cactus, they probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Lin Jun's backlash suddenly disappeared. Their attacks seemed to have disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Bonnok asked. Maybe his mental strength is about to collapse, and he doesn't have any strength left to resist. Let's try a little harder and completely destroy him. I have a feeling that as long as we destroy his mental strength, his hiding place will definitely be exposed. All right, since there isn't any backlash now, I can finally attack with all my might. Banach finally felt liberated. What's more, he wanted to drive out Lin Jun's mental strength because this sand of Ganges was the treasure of his New Delhi church. He couldn't let Lin Jun take it away. A series of mental attacks smashed towards Lin Jun. Alan looked at Banach's actions and frowned slightly. The attacks of a spirit reader master still had to be restrained. Once the mental strength was consumed too much, it would affect the combat effectiveness. Alan wouldn't do such a thing easily. Moreover, the battle here couldn't be seen from the outside. Alan didn't want to fight with Banach. If you want to attack, then attack. When Lin Jun comes out, I'll catch him. Then the position of the head judge will be mine. The others saw the smiles of the two elders and relaxed. It seemed that this battle to eliminate the heretics was about to end. An elder said to Alan, who opened his eyes and smiled, "Elder Alan, how's the situation? We can't see the battle situation and feel very anxious." Alan smiled. "Don't worry, the situation is basically clear now. Lin Jun must be at the edge of this boulder. I think the biggest possibility is still at the position where he disappeared. His mental strength is now fighting with me and Elder Banach. It's about to collapse. Once his mental strength collapses, it's time for him to appear. Everyone, get ready." When they heard that Lin Jun was about to appear, the surrounding people suddenly became nervous. They took out their weapons and carefully stared at the place where Lin Jun disappeared. Alan laughed. "Don't worry too much. After Lin Jun's mental strength collapsed, he's basically an idiot. Just wait to catch him alive." Hearing Alan's words, the others finally relaxed. Huh, sure enough, my sex elders are powerful. They easily took care of Lin Jun. That's right. Don't you see who Elder Alan and Elder Banach are? They're both diamond-level spirit readers. Lin Jun can be considered lucky to be able to hold on until now. This time we'll cut off Lin Jun's dog head and bring it back. It'll be a late gift for His Majesty's ascension to the throne. Alan had rested for quite a while. Seeing that Banach was still attacking without any regard for his life, he gathered a strong mental strength and blasted it towards Lin Jun's mental strength in the corner. He was ready to completely deal with Lin Jun with this blow and in this tug-of-war of mental strength. The powerful mental attack hit Lin Jun and then disappeared. There was no backlash. The situation seems a bit wrong. Alan frowned. If Lin Jun was about to die, how could he be fine for so long? Moreover, the mental strength disappeared in a strange way. It was like throwing a stone into a river. Other than a little wave, nothing could be seen. He didn't know why, but he had a bad premonition in his heart. At this time, Banach gathered his mental strength again. Either get out of my sand of Ganges or die. Boom! After Banach's mental attack was launched, he thought that the result would be the same as before. However, there was a sudden change. Lin Jun's mental strength suddenly stirred a few times and then spread out fiercely. Like the rising tide, Lin Jun's mental strength advanced rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it forced the mental strength of the two people to retreat. This is impossible. Alan's voice was hoarse because he felt that Lin Jun's mental strength was much stronger than their mental strength. It was no longer on the same level. It was actually a mid-diamond level mental strength. It was just at the early stage. How did it suddenly reach the mid-stage? Banach was even more dumbfounded. Alan suddenly felt that Lin Jun's mental strength was brewing. He was going to launch a mental attack. A heart-palpitating feeling came. At this moment, Lin Jun's mental strength was like a giant beast that swallowed everything. Alan felt extreme danger. He didn't hesitate and immediately withdrew his mental strength from this strange stone. On the other hand, Banach was one step slower. Although he sensed great danger, he didn't want to give up on the stone. Because of this simple delay, he was too late. Bang! His spiritual sea suffered a huge impact. As a diamond-level spirit reader, Banach didn't even need to bring astral tools for mental defense. He took Lin Jun's attack head-on. His head tilted back. The mental strength in his eyes was lax, and the color of his pupils almost disappeared. He had already consumed a lot of mental strength, and Lin Jun was a fresh force. His diamond-level mental strength was almost scattered by this attack. He screamed, and his mental strength completely withdrew from the stone. At this time, the people outside saw that the stone shone and then quickly shrank. Finally, it disappeared into the air. A gust of wind blew. The entrance to the city of ancient gods that had been blocked was opened. Lin Jun is out. He's here, someone roared, only to see the space where the stone disappeared distort, and Lin Jun, who had disappeared for 7 days, actually appeared out of thin air again. Kill him, Alan shouted, and countless attacks were launched around him. All kinds of weapons rained down. Lin Jun's body flashed. He teleported. Alan's mental attack was the first to be launched. However, it couldn't interrupt Lin Jun's teleportation. There wasn't any backlash either. His mental strength was still like a clay ox entering the sea. Lin Jun didn't teleport very far. He only moved a dozen meters. However, it was enough to make those weapons' attacks miss. This distance was the best range for mental attacks. The spirit readers present finally got a chance. There were already more than 100 Quasi-Star Realm experts gathered here. Among them, more than 10 spirit readers launched attacks at the same time. A mental attack was launched, but it didn't have any effect. Instead, it was Lin Jun who suddenly opened his eyes. Hee, it's been hard on you to guard this place for so many days. Let me give you a little gift. Mental shockwave. A ripple that was almost visible to the naked eye surged forward and swept through the crowd in an instant. What followed was a scene that the whole world would remember forever. 120 Quasi-Star Realm experts, including Banach, were hit by Lin Jun's shockwave. Everyone maintained their previous posture. Their eyes were unfocused, and their bodies were frozen. Then, about a second later, everyone's nose, mouth, eyes, and ears spurted out white brain matter and red blood at the same time. They were like balloons that were leaking air everywhere. Puff, 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 puff. Chapter 307. The effect of the spiritual shockwave was so good that even Lin Jun was shocked. His spiritual power had finally advanced under Alan and Banach's joint attack, reaching the mid-diamond level. Shaon Wan's nature of devouring also appeared in his spiritual power. This way, Lin Jun wouldn't be afraid of the spiritual shock of anyone whose spiritual power didn't surpass his. As long as their spiritual power didn't surpass his, it wouldn't affect him at all. The spiritual shock wouldn't shake him, nor would it interrupt his teleportation. Instead, it would become the nourishment for his spiritual power to advance. However, it wouldn't be devoured and absorbed instantly. It also required a digestion process. Of course, Lin Jun couldn't digest the spiritual shock released by this group of people instantly. He wrapped the spiritual power with his own spiritual power, and the combination of the two allowed him to release an unprecedentedly huge spiritual shock. The spiritual shock wave this time definitely exceeded the mid-diamond level. Lin Jun felt that it even had the power of a peak diamond level attack. That was why Lin Jun was able to kill this group of people in an instant. However, the effect of the instant kill was absolutely shocking. More than 100 Quasi-Star Realm experts fell, including Banach, a Star Realm expert. Banach had been hit by Lin Jun's spiritual shock during the neutron fight. He was dizzy, so he couldn't dodge the spiritual shock wave and died on the spot. Only 9 people survived. They were Alan, Adams, and the other Star Realm experts. Lin Jun's crazy attack shocked most people, but it didn't shock Alan. He had witnessed Lin Jun's advancement to the mid-diamond level with his own eyes. He also knew that Lin Jun's spiritual power could devour other people's spiritual shock, so he had a rough idea of the terrifying effect of this attack. Therefore, after Lin Jun's shocking attack, he still chose to continue attacking. Adams, let's go. This kid actually has mid-diamond level spiritual power. If you don't have dark gold spiritual power and a top-grade spiritual defense astral weapon, don't come. You just die if you come. Among the Star Realm experts, the total number of telekinesis masters was about 2/5, which was already quite a lot. Among the 9-Star Realm experts, besides Alan and Adams, there were also 2 dark gold stage telekinesis masters. Four-star realm experts flew towards Lin Jun at an extremely fast speed. Lin Jun didn't want to get tangled up with these people. In fact, if he didn't consider his strong spiritual power, Lin Jun's strength didn't increase much. Getting tangled up with a star ranker would definitely not end well. Now that the gates to the city of Ancient God had opened, he had to leave. He smiled at the four-star realms and said, "There is no need to rush. The city of Ancient Gods is huge. We have plenty of time to play." Teleport. 4 mind attacks were sent out, but none of them were able to stop Lin Jun's instant shift. His figure flashed twice, and he was already inside the city of Ancient God. Alan stopped in his tracks. He couldn't catch up with Lin Jun like this. It would take a lot of people to chase after Lin Jun, and they couldn't use mind attacks. The phone rang. It was Yin Huang. Alan immediately told Yin Huang about Lin Jun's situation. Today's matter had completely disgraced the God Sect. If they didn't take care of Lin Jun, the God Sect wouldn't be able to raise its head in front of the whole world. Yin Huang immediately gave the order to gather all the telekinesis masters above the Dark Gold stage in the God Sect. Everyone wore a top-grade spiritual defense astral weapon and gathered in the city of Ancient God. His Majesty the Pope had personally given the order. Many people from all over the world who had the ability to hunt down Lin Jun gathered here. Among the 30 elders of the God Sect, there were 12 telekinesis masters. Now that Banach was dead, there were 11 left. Among the 11 elders, 6 of them were experts on the meteor list, including Alan, Adams, and Gongsun Du. However, Yin Huang didn't let Gongsun Du participate in the hunt this time. The remaining 10 elders were all present. After that, Yin Huang found another 40-star realm experts. They were divided into 5 action teams. Each team was led by a star realm expert, coordinated by a star realm expert, and had 8 Dark Gold stage telekinesis masters as members. Before the 5 teams set off, Yin Huang said emotionally, "Today is the day of disgrace for our God Sect. Lin Jun, the blasphemer, killed many of our brothers and sisters, causing the God Sect's prestige to suffer a great blow in the whole world. The faithful believers are heartbroken, and the ordinary believers are beginning to doubt the ability of our holy see. We have also become a joke to many people who are looking on coldly. Therefore, killing Lin Jun is now the most important thing for our God Sect. We are all very clear about Lin Jun's strength. Now that you are all equipped with spiritual defense astral weapons, Lin Jun's spiritual attack can't do anything to you. Your mission is to kill Lin Jun in the city of Ancient God. This is related to the glory of our God Sect. Whether you are worthy of becoming a believer of the starry sky, true God, depends on you. The whole world is watching you. Do you have the confidence?" Yes. The 50 telekinesis masters answered in unison. They really hated Lin Jun to the bone. "Go. Try your best to block Lin Jun in the second level of the city of Ancient God." Alan and the other 10 experts set off. Yin Huang once again promised in front of the whole world that he would not let Lin Jun, the blasphemer, go. Although the world's response was still enthusiastic, it was much weaker than when the God Sect was first established. After many days of discussion, the question of who was right and who was wrong between the God Sect and Lin Jun was placed in front of the whole world. For those who believed in God, Lin Jun was gravely wrong. But what about those who didn't believe in God? From their point of view, was Lin Jun wrong? There was no point in discussing who was right or wrong now. At this point, Lin Jun and the God Sect would have to decide who was the winner. It all depended on whether the God Sect's pursuit team could kill Lin Jun in the city of Ancient God. The God's Might Church in Constantinople was solemn and solemn. The main hall was as deep as the night sky. Footsteps on the dark marble floor made crisp sounds. Yin Huang paced back and forth, looking up and sighing from time to time. His mood was very heavy. "Your Majesty, I think you don't have to worry too much. Lin Jun can't beat our God Sect." Beside him, the former patriarch of the Constantinople Church, Larex, advised, "Teacher, do you think our pursuit team can catch Lin Jun?" Yin Huang asked his teacher. Ever since he became the son of God and took over the position of patriarch, his teacher had retired and was no longer an elder of the God Sect. However, his teacher had always been by his side. Larex pondered for a moment. According to the estimation of strength, Lin Jun is not a match for any of the masters on the star list. However, Lin Jun's method of hiding in the alternate space is too strange. Now that he has reached the mid-diamond level mind power, there are too few people who can interrupt his teleportation. It's too difficult for our team to kill or catch him. It's almost impossible. After thinking about it, Larex continued, to really defeat Lin Jun, we must have the cooperation of a mid-diamond level spirit reader. In our god sect, besides you and me, only Gong Sun Du has this ability. Your Majesty, why don't you let Gong Sun Du go? Yin Huang shook his head. Gong Sun Du won't do. This person hasn't agreed to the matter between Su Mingyue and me. He also said that he would respect Su Mingyue's choice. If that's the case, I'm afraid Su Mingyue will never marry me. Before he shows absolute loyalty, I can't use him. If that's the case, then I'll go myself, Larex said. Teacher is a master on the Dark Star list. If you go, it'll be a piece of cake. Yin Huang was overjoyed. Larex nodded confidently. However, I still have to ask your Majesty to give me one of the 3 holy items. Otherwise, I'm afraid it won't work. Which one do you want? I want the realm-piercing nail. In addition to the glory set, the Vatican had 3 other holy items. These were the foundation of the god sect. These 3 items were the star crown, the realm-piercing nail, and the cloak of concealment. The star crown was a small headband with 7 gems inlaid on it. It could provide the user with a steady stream of astral power. As long as the user's body was not broken into pieces, broken limbs could be regenerated. The star power would never run out. It was a divine item in battle. It was also a high-grade auxiliary holy item. It was almost priceless. The higher the level of the holy item, the harder it was to truly control it. Even Yin Huang had not truly grasped the power of the star crown. The realm-piercing nail, on the other hand, was a mid-grade holy item that contained the power of space. It was not even a weapon, but a mid-grade auxiliary holy item. The nail could lock onto a person's aura. Even if the person was hiding in another world, it could still be hit. The nail also had a magical effect. It could seal off a person's Dantian Qi. If a martial artist was hit by the nail, they would not be able to circulate their Dantian Qi until the nail was taken out. The cloak of concealment was a treasure that could completely hide a martial artist. It was also a mid-grade auxiliary holy item. Yin Huang nodded. Teacher is right. If I don't use the realm-piercing nail, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to catch Lin Jun. I'll leave this nail to you. He took out a holy item from his infinite space ring. It was 3 inches long and not even as thick as a pinky finger. It shone with a dim light. Yin Huang handed the holy item to Larex. Your Majesty, if we really can't find Lin Jun, what do you plan to do? Yin Huang coldly laughed. Of course I won't just sit here and wait. I have my own ways to deal with Gong Sun Du. As long as I deal with Gong Sun Du, Su Mingyue will be easy to capture. There's still 90 days until my wedding, and I've already announced it to the world. Say, even if you can't find Lin Jun, will he return before that day? He should. He and Su Mingyue seem to have a very good relationship. That's it. I'll use this time to completely control the star crown. As long as I can use this holy item, Lin Jun won't even be able to compare to a shrimp in front of me. My goal is to enter the heavenly star ranking. Larex was overjoyed. So that's how it is. Your Majesty is indeed wise. Even if Lin Jun temporarily hides in the city of the ancient gods and is lucky enough to escape our pursuit, he will still walk right into our trap. Yes, but I don't think he'll have a chance to come out and cause trouble for me. Teacher, you're an expert on the Dark Star ranking, and you have the realm-piercing nail. Lin Jun definitely won't be able to escape.